The second half of the Integrity Racing League doubleheader is just moments away. Charlotte Motor Speedway was the place we saw last night coming to life for 300 plus miles, an overtime finish, and an exciting battle till the very end. This time around, the Gen 4 stock cars of the Integrity Octane Series get to take to America's home for racing. Welcome back to Concord, North Carolina. This is the 2024 World 300. This is the Integrity Octane Series 13th race of 2024, and it's great to have you all back live on FTN as we are getting things going for our final race before Memorial Day break. Great to have you all on the network once more. I'll be your host for tonight's broadcast, David Kreutz, commentating and producing. This is a moment, of course, we've been looking forward to ever since last year's running. The Charlotte doubleheader is one of the most challenging for any driver, no matter their expertise, no matter where they are in the point standings, from the front of the field on to the back. This is an immeasurable challenge. Endurance, it's attrition, and it takes quite a lot of planning from the drop of the green flag till the checkered. Braxton Nuis going to find himself at the top of the board by 74 one-thousandths of a second, and you can see Braxton making his way in just like that. Bobby Ross going to round out the top 10 as Michael Laraya and Tom Wetmore jump up the first and second. We saw them fighting inside the top 10 last week. Right now, Laraya going to be racing down that back straightaway, and you can see here your points leader looking to jump up a little bit further. Last night, points leader Braxton Nuis in the Ignite Series got the victory. Laraya looking for a similar outcome here. However, he'll be racing against Braxton and many others who raced in last night's event, so it's not going to be an open and shut case, especially given the fact they're drivers with Ignite experience, some of which are with us once again. Krista Weiss in the chat room, thank you for stopping by. Great to have you here, qualifying on the move with 90 seconds remaining. And the World 300 just moments away. Looks like Laraya's firmly got himself on the pole, and Matt Jonas coming across the stripe to jump from 15th. It looks like he won't make any more gains. Raya right now going to be still at the top. Tom Wetmore jumps into second, 15 one-thousandths back, but can't really make a gain here. So with that being said, it might come down to Ethan Lane. Lane has had a bad string of races as of recent, 2 consecutive retirements, which is not all too Ethan Lane-like. Tonight at Charlotte could be a big deal in getting himself back on the championship trail, nearly halfway into the campaign already. And he finds himself in the top 5 in points, but I think he'd have liked to have been in the top 3 if all played out his way. Right now, rushing down that back straightaway, Lane's going to have 40 seconds remaining, and you could see, working his way through, going to have one and done for his qualifying effort. And you can see how hard he's pushing that car out, yawing it all the way to the left side, and getting a little bit loose on the way. Coming across the stripe for Ethan Lane, that's going to be a 29.139. Very clearly good for pole by 1/10 of a second. Just one lap. And it's the number 54 on top with a walk-off finish to qualifying. Ethan Lane grabs the pole, and you saw it there. By 1/10 of a second, Lane goes to the top. Ethan Lane going to find himself there, and just like that, qualifying has concluded. Take a look at your starting lineup for tonight's event here in Charlotte. The World 300 going to be 200 laps and 300 miles of racing, the longest event by mileage in the entire Integrity Octane Series schedule, and it's going to be Ethan Lane at the front of the field with a 29.14, clearly setting the fastest time, and he's going to put himself there with Michael Laraya second and Tom Wetmore then in third. Blake Cannon going to be position number 4, and Braxton Nuis, who won last night by 61 thousandths of a second, well, he's here too, rounding out the top 5. 6th place will be Sam Nieto, 7th is Jacob Fife, and Ross Cato is in 8th. Cody Smith 9th, and Justin Morton rounds out the top 10 with a 29.426. 11th place is then going to be Galen Gidman with Nick Ward in 12th, Brian McFerrin 13th with a 29.466, and Bobby Ross is there in 14th with Kyle Cooper concluding the top. Sean Kalis going to be 16th, and Alan Rawell 17th, Eric McFarland 18th, and Matt Jonas 19th, with Eli Cars right there, the 82, 20th place on the order. 21st is going to be Brad Patton, who will not be taking a qualifying time once again. Led laps last night from about 21st, could be able to do so once again. Randy Fiash going to be 22nd, and your 23rd and final driver in tonight's starting grid, John Girvan in the number 33. 12 rows, 23 drivers, and we are now just 3 minutes away from getting things going in the Integrity Octane Series second running of the World 300. Galen Goodman going to be now the fastest driver in this warm-up session, getting himself settled in quite nicely. See there, Goodman all the way up to the high side of the track, so going to be ripping the top here. Take a lap on board, and we'll figure out exactly what the 9 is doing to get such quick speeds. That time by was a 29.563. His quickest lap, a 29.345. Goodman going to be dropping it down to the inside by force, and he will go down to pit road for maybe a little bit of practice. Green flag pit stop entries are going to be crucial tonight, and we're going to see that more and more as this race progresses. Hopefully speaking, we got 160 laps of racing last night under green to kick off the racing in the Ignite Series. There's a possibility we get that once again, but nothing is guaranteed, and that race took a completely different direction. It ended up being a 3-caution race, and it was tight. With all things being said and done with a restart finish, all came down to an exciting battle, which ended up being wrecking itself at the line. Justin Morton, Braxton Deweese, and the gap between them, less than 100. Braxton Deweese is here to defend his victory. He's among others who have taken a time in this practice session. Brad Patton going to be third spot right now. There's the number 7, and he's coming onto the circuit in his metallic Oreo paint scheme. It's the red number 7, but a blue paint scheme to go with it. Looks like all metal for the driver here, Brad Patton in his Chevrolet Monte Carlo. Right now, it looks like Sam Nieto going to jump up to the top of the board. We got Sam there, Galen Goodman going to be second, Brad Patton third, and fourth is Cody Smith. And now, Cody going to be going up to the high side, looking to make a pass there and trying to learn how it's going to drive multi-groove racing. Also going to be a huge part of the equation here in Charlotte. John Steele, unfortunately, in the chat room and not with the drivers tonight, and we'd hope to see him for the rest of the season, but looks like it's going to be his teammates and Eric McFarland and Tom Wetmore carrying the banner for Roadhouse Racing. And Roadhouse, a team that almost got the victory last week, and Tom Wetmore's getting close. Very close. I figure we're going to see a win or two out of him sometime this season. Not if he ends up like that tonight in the wall, but he's done it before after a wreck. Maybe there's an opportunity he does it again. Richmond of 2023 spun and won. Practice has concluded. Sam Nieto, the driver at the top of the board, and another driver looking to go back to his 2023 winning ways. Nieto at the front of the order here in your final warm-up session. Qualifying is over. Practice has concluded, and we have seen already one 300-mile race this week. Time to move on to your second and final of the doubleheader. Ethan Lane, among others, on pit road no longer. He's at the front straightaway, waiting for the rest of the field to load in. As drivers are going to come through this time by Ethan Lane, among many others here in this field. Over 20 drivers going to be registered, and it looks like every one of which will be able to take to the track tonight. 23 starters. We saw 25 last night. 26 registered. Boomer Logan not able to start last night's event. So we have a very similar field in terms of size and composition, and another similar case. The weather changing all throughout this 200. lap event. We saw it. It started sunny skies early in the race in Concord, North Carolina, but by the time we got to the checkered flag, it was pitch black, and we're here to do it all over again. It's going to be Ethan Lane on the bottom side, as is everyone else. Blake Cannon trying to get himself going here. Here comes Ethan Lane. Lane coming through with Lariah, Wetmore, Cannon, and others, as we're going to go 2x2 for the first time tonight. Our one and only pre-race pace lap before Ethan Lane lets us go. Side by side now, the 54 machine of Lane, the hardest charger in this championship battle. He missed a few races, but is still in the pack. All the while, Michael Araya got himself another victory last week, a necessary victory to keep up the title fight, his fourth of the season. Lane right now going to be fourth in the championship standings, and he moved down a spot to Don Stevenson. Last two races not been his best, and he's looking to make it up tonight, trying to get back inside of the championship picture. Finds himself currently just about 130 points behind. He's lost about 20 points relative to Michael Araya in these past two races, and he's going to stand right beside Michael here at the front of the field. Notably, Braxton Deweese, who might be the only driver with the opportunity to go for both championships, is 210 back and starts in fifth tonight. He won last night. Maybe a chance he does so once again. Justin Morton finished second in yesterday's event. He's got an opportunity starting in the top 10, but Ethan Lane is the driver with all eyes on him. It's the 54 leading us down to the green flag for the first time tonight. Lane gonna go to the bottom side, switching lanes to go under, and we are green once again from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Ethan Lane going to find himself up in front. Most drivers going to be slotting single file, and we are on our way. This is going to be a long haul, so get buckled in, grab your popcorn. It's going to be a fun fight, of course, throughout the entire field. But the leaders, as it stands, of course, going to have the opportunity here, Justin Morton among others, to get themselves settled out early. As one up in the wall, that's Bobby Ross, and Bobby goes way high here, and he's going to put himself in a good situation to keep things moving. Brent 45 runs up to the high side, and he'll keep going, regardless, of course, of what occurs here. The 97 of Nick Ward going to be in the mix, coming through down that back straightaway, maybe to take a position from Ross. Brian McFerrin going to be 14th, and Kyle Cooper 15th. Sean Kalis 16th right there too, and Brad Patton is in the 17th spot. And Brad already making some time as Sean Kalis is up in the wall, and two drivers getting caught out, and Kalis goes up and in. He'll go down to pit road. Is that a caution? It looks like the call is no, but Sean Kalis can have a violent flip, but he does go up in the air and airborne early for the number 43. Kalis in trouble. Just like that, we've got ourselves our first big incident of the night. Kalis came down and in, ended up flicking right off there of the number 30 of Eric McFarland, and it looks like one of the Roadhouse drivers in trouble as Kalis, shooting down to the bottom side, gets himself in trouble yet again. Eric McFarland now going to be making his way through. He's going down to pit road for additional service. Looks like now two drivers already going to be putting one down. Michael Araya going to take the race lead. Ethan Lane going to drop back about a quarter of a second here, and we are on our way in Charlotte indeed. It looks like besides that first hiccup, the leaders, the front of the field and such, have gotten things going with no trouble. Sam Nieto's number 2 right now going to be in 6th, making his gains as Cody Smith runs right behind him. Smith now going to be looking to the underside of Tom Wetmore. Wetmore got to be very careful there as he moves up to the high side. You absolutely cannot not end up in that wall. We've seen it already with multiple drivers. If you get stuck up to the wall out of 4, which is likelier in the Gen 4 stock cars than it is for the Xfinity cars, given the power, yeah, it's going to cost you several spots, maybe even going to cost you your race there. I mean, Kalis and McFarland, yeah, Sean Kalis is still going, but Eric McFarland is 2 laps down as he got slammed into with absolutely no choice in the matter. Just like that, 7 laps in out of 200, we make it to lap number 8. Going to be now Michael Araya leading lane second, and they have broken away. Third spot is going to be Blake Cannon. Cody Smith then and there is in fourth. Braxton Nuis going to conclude the top 10 right now, a driver who was a dominant fighter in last week's session, and it largely came down to, for him, the battle between DJ Stagner, Thomas Bressi, and himself. A 3-car race, and was a great one at that, until Bressi ended up involved in his own incident with about 25 laps to go, and that's when things got dicey for the second caution of the day. And from there on out, it was a completely different race. Braxton still able to hold on, but it was not easy in the slightest. Now, majority of the field is going to be single file, running on their lonesome. Wetmore going to be looking down to the inside once again. Take a ride on board with Tom Wetmore here in the opening laps, and you'll try to see, of course, as we are, what's going on inside the cockpit. So clutching and coasting coming into the picture very early for Tom Wetmore here. And we're hearing it inside the cockpit of the number 51. Take a listen through 1 and 2. Here's silence as he goes through the opening 2 corners of the circuit. He exits, of course, with power, but in the entry, and not quite. Here's a ride on board now with Sam Nieto. And you can hear the difference. Sam Nieto is in the tow right now, so he doesn't really have to be on the power all the time, but Tom Wetmore has decided to take that to extremes, and he is going to be the driver, maybe saving a little bit more fuel. That's a clue into the fuel strategy already. Wetmore, unlike a lot of the other drivers ahead of him, seem to be on that clutch and coast strategy, and when you're doing that early, it's easier to manage it for later. So why not get yourself settled in for the long haul, get in the middle of this leading pack, and then begin to tow. Wetmore might have himself good for the long haul here, but we'll see, of course, if it gets to that point. 12 laps in at a 200. That time by for Michael Araya. He's going to run a 30.495. Tire wear has gotten up to about 1 second's worth for the majority of the field, from a 29 up to a 30. Looks like it's still slowly but surely growing. Expect those numbers to get up to about the 32-second range when all is said and done. Eric McFarland is back on the track, and he finds himself 3 laps down, by the way. He's going to be now back on the circuit. 23rd and last, tentatively speaking, Sean Kalis is still driving after that first incident of the day. Cody Smith going to find himself now just ahead of Sam Nieto. Nieto's made some gains. One driver who has not is Ethan Lane. Lane has ended up going in the backwards direction once again. Bad news for Ethan, however, relative to a rival in Don Stevenson, it's going to be a great night for Ethan Lane because, well, Don Stevenson's not here. He raced last night, is not with us today, so it's a little bit different. Just like that, the driver, the number 54, has an opportunity to keep on gaining, even if it isn't a win relative to Michael Araya. Ross Cato going to be here with Braxton Nuis, and Braxton going up top. This is the fight now for the 9th position. Brad Patton going to take it, and it looks like Braxton is going to be moved out by force. Patton from 21st on the grid, inside the top 10, and he is showing everyone, as he has just about every week all season long. Nobody can quite do it like Brad has, and unfortunately still has not yet materialized for that victory. But you got to imagine that with the way he's been driving, getting more and more experience from the back on up, if he had any qualifying position, he would have a much better chance than what he already has. And he's led laps as recent as yesterday in the Ignite Series, has an opportunity to maybe cycle out and lead some laps all over again. Cody Smith up to the high side, and Smith takes the race lead. Cody No concerns right now as to, of course, that fuel saving or tire saving. It looks like he's just going all out, and you can see he jumps out to the lead, and he must be more confident than anyone else about what he's got inside the cockpit, because Smith is there, and he's been able to make up about 0.3 of a second, and his gap is still growing. Nobody else decided to go for that route, and I gotta wonder that Michael Araya, among others, are saving too, because Smith jumping out huge. It's only a matter of time until he gets reeled back in. Right now for Cody Smith, of course, having that clean air is a major part of the equation, but you cannot really hold on for too long without having to be pulled back in, given the fact you have no toe. These drivers are drafting the number 18 once again, and that is exactly what they're doing. Michael Araya going to be down and under with Sam Nieto, and this entire train tucking in under the wake of the number 18. They're all pulling through, running down the back straightaway together, and by the time they catch Cody Smith, it'll be that much easier to pass him, because it's already been effectively set up by the man himself in the race lead. Jacob Fife coming through with Blake Cannon. Cannon right now rounds out the top 5, while Jacob Fife finds himself in 4th. Fife, 3-time winner last season. Maybe it was an opportunity to get back into victory lane. His last win came at New Hampshire, the Magic Mile. It was an exciting race over in Loudon, New Hampshire. Fair share of incidents, ended up being quite the wreck fest, all things considered. The big trouble for those drivers with the next gen, minimal banking, spinning out of 2 and 4. Well, it's a completely different package this year, and maybe Jacob Fife not adapting the best, but he's doing a real good job right now, fighting within the confines of the podium. I think there's an opportunity he gets up here and makes a little bit more of a difference, as we're seeing right now. Sam Nieto getting that pressure, and Fife definitely looking on, trying to get himself in the battle. Working down the back straightaway, still the majority of the field is in connection. See here, Michael Araya looking to the bottom side again. It's going to be Cody Smith up top, side by side, coming down to the line. It's Smith with a minor advantage. That of only about 21 thousandths of a second, so nothing too crazy here. But it looks like Cody Smith now getting that fight back. Exactly what we thought of. We mentioned getting pulled back in. Come lap after lap, slowly but surely, and as such, Michael Araya is going to reel that number 18 in, and it is a quick move through for the driver, the number 44, Araya, now your leader, and Sam Nieto going to come by, hoping to take that second spot, and this is the gamble you take with that aggression early. Looks like he's going to send that number 18 backwards fast. Cody Smith now being sent outside the podium. Maybe a chance for him to hang on for a little bit more tonight. But of course right now, 22 laps in, not indicative of any major failures, but he's going to drop back from the race lead after briefly holding it. Ethan Lane down under. He's got Michael Araya right there. And behind him is Michael, Sam Nieto with Cody Smith, and Jacob Fife. And additionally speaking, you also see Brad Patton and Blake Cannon. Cannon right now going to be in 7th. Brad Patton is in 6th, side by side. Here goes Cody Smith to the high side again. Brush on the wall. Nothing too crazy. Gotta wonder what Brad Patton can do in this particular scenario, because he's going to get inside the top 5 with a move past Cody Smith, and he is there. Patton is defying the odds relative to everyone else here. He has to push to make up these spots. He has to burn the tires to push. And yet he's still gotten here with no signs of real decay on the rubber, while Cody Smith is being set back fast after a brief expedition up in front, and many other drivers who started in front of Brad Patton have shredded their stuff more. It looks like Brad is a lot more confident just letting the tire saving play out naturally and driving it his way. That's gotten him up here in 24 laps time. Maybe there's a chance to take the rest of the distance. It's the hardest 1 second gap that he has to make up now, because 1 second away, there is your leader in Ethan Lane at the 54, coming up on the lapper of Sean Kalis. And the hope, of course, is going to be that Kalis does not play a role in anything here. Sean involved with the first and only incident of the night so far, which had Eric McFarland involved. And here comes Sean down to the inside line, the number 43, lapped by Lane. And Ethan now puts up a huge gap of 0.6 of a second, the biggest any driver's done so far. Now Kalis is going to get swallowed up, potentially 3 wide middle. It's a feisty group of drivers, and Michael Araya is going to take it right down to the bottom side. Sam Nieto going to be looking low. Cody Smith going to find himself fourth, and Jacob 5 fifth. Brad Patton right there in sixth. Rolling down the back straightaway once again. 26 laps in, out of 200. The World 300. Well, so far off to a nice start. Sun is setting here in North Carolina. You'll see that golden haze in the backdrop. And Sean Kalis right now, your first driver, being put one lap down naturally on the circuit. Brad Patton right now going to be right with Jacob Fife, 2 by 2 with the lapper of Kalis. Looks like there's very little going on right now for Sean Kalis, of course, staying up on the high side, not really making any much of a concern for the drivers, and that's the best thing you can do right now as a lapper, in all honesty. Just make sure you don't slap the wall and drive it right under. We saw with Eric McFarland, if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, another driver's misfortune can become yours. It can take you out even worse than the driver who first experienced it. Eric is 3 laps down even still. He's driving, but he's several laps behind and has no signs of getting back up, even though Eric McFarland, of course, is still going. It's going to take a lot, namely Sean Kalis falling under him position-wise for a real opportunity to get back up there. Side by side, Cody Smith going to be with Sam Nieto. Sam goes up to the top, Cody down to the bottom, and it looks like now Smith with a chance to keep on fighting. Finds himself back inside the top 5. Maybe some room for the podium. Ethan Lane has been able to get himself a 1-second advantage, and everyone else, well, they're hanging in there, but really no signs of competing. Bobby Ross and Brian McFerrin going to be on their own, a little bit distant from the 2 main packs we have in the field. Then there's Justin Morton, who's with Galen Gidman, Nick Ward, Ross Cato, all drivers right now who are just within the confines of fighting for the top 10. Ross is in 10th as it stands, so he should be able to make up a little bit more time if he were to go full push, and he's got an opportunity now with Tom Wetmore. Oh, Wetmore going to go right down and under the 43, and giving a little bit more of a hesitant block there. The 43 of Kalis ends up getting worked up to the high side. Nick Ward going to see Galen Gidman get loose right under him. Galen's going to save it, and no big trouble there, even though the number 11 machine gets by. Looks like Galen Gidman still with a chance to stay within the pack. All things considered, not a major incident. Right now, everyone just going to try to manage themselves out lightly and nicely. We mentioned being a light load for the first 100 and 150 laps when we go to a track like Charlotte or a longer race of any capacity. It's not the type of race where you want to end up burning your stuff out early, and the question sometimes becomes, how hard should you try early in this race? Well, that's a good question, and we'd like to discuss that a little bit more in detail, especially given the fact we're working these Gen 4 stock cars where there's no excuse as to not trying every single lap. No matter where you are in the front of the field, the back of the field, or in between, you are working the car. Take a look inside the cockpit of Blake Cannon for just a moment here, and you'll see exactly what the wheel work is like, to add to the fact he's racing against other drivers on the same track. And right now, if you're in a position like Blake Cannon, you are working that wheel back and forth. Caution's going to fly. The reason being going to be right ahead of Cannon. Jacob Fife is going to bring out the first yellow flag of the day. Caution is out. Here's an instant replay. Let's figure out what just happened as Jacob Fife, among others, going to bring out the first caution of this event. So Jacob Fife going up to the high side here. You have Cody Smith up top, Smith in the wall, then going to tag Jacob Fife, get Brad Patton and Braxton Deweese. 4-car incident, yellow flag is out, and that's going to take a fifth of the field with it there, with the 4 cars involved. Just like that, yellow flag gonna fly. Eli Cars gets past the stripe. Not good at all for Fife, but it looks like minor damage for those involved. A little bit of scuffing there for the 36. Braxton Deweese also catching a piece, but relatively speaking, everyone should be all right to continue in this race. Just not going to be as easy. Brad Patton definitely going to get that big-time front-end damage. Bad news there as the caution is out. 34 laps in out of 200, and we're looking back on the replay here. Didn't even look like it was contact for certain. Looks like a little bit of net code along the way, and we are pacing once again. This time, for the first time, under caution. Going to be now Ethan Lane, Michael Araya coming down and in. Pit road is getting busy, and we're going to take a look here as the pit exit is going to be stacked with competition, as though just about everyone in the entire field, with the exception of Sean Kalist and Eric McFarland, are on the road. It looks like for Ethan Lane, he'll jump out with the lead over Michael Araya, Sam Nieto, Blake Cannon, Tom Wetmore, Cody Smith, Nick Ward, Justin Morton, and Galen Gidman 9th. Ross Cato rounds out the top 10 as the rest of the field comes on by. It's going to be the number 54, once again advantageous, and it looks like that pole position stall going to help him jump out to the lead. Not half bad for Ethan Lane, Michael Araya 2nd, Sam Nieto 3rd, Blake Cannon 4th, and Tom Wetmore rounds out the top 5 with Cody Smith there in 6th. Will be set to get things going at the latest, lap number 37. Lane and Laraya once again going to be a front row, and notable changes and gains for Sean Kalist, who's now up to 14th. He'll drop down to pit road this time by because he chose not to in the previous run. Eric McFarland going to be 3 laps down, even still not getting Lucky Dog validation. However, now he's the only driver on pit road, so if there were to be an additional incident for a lapper, he would be the only driver to qualify. And as such, the number 30 would be in the position to go only 2 laps down on the next caution. He would still need 3 at the minimum to get back up to the front of the field here. So not the best circumstance for Eric McFarland, but the first caution is paving the way to get, of course, back up to the head of the pack. Ethan Lane right now going to be your leader. It will be green at the end of lap 37. Nancy Wetmore in the chat room, thank you for coming aboard. Tom Wetmore right now going to be the leader of the Roadhouse Racing duo tonight. We mentioned Eric McFarland on pit road. Wetmore in the Tube Tech Chevrolet is in 5th. And the field is double file, just waiting for the command to get things moving once again. So we are moments away from bringing the field back green. First caution of the night here in Charlotte, and hopefully not the first of many here. We're just getting things going here from the circuit in Concord, North Carolina, and it's currently going to be Ethan Lane, your race leader. He's going to find himself up to the top of the board. Michael Araya 2nd, then Sam Nieto 3rd, Blake Cannon 4th, and Tom Wetmore we mentioned rounding out the top 5. We go at the end of the next lap. Tom Wetmore to the bottom side of the track because he's going to follow those on the inside line. Ethan Lane set everything up, and right now the 54 machine is advantageous at the front of the field. Michael Araya going to be 2nd, and this is just about the way they started things in the first start of the race. Araya quickly got the jump, and as such, number 54 fell back just a bit. Can Ethan Lane maintain his position now? That is the big question. 7 laps in out of 200. It's time to do things one more time with the 54 in control. Sun is still setting. Looks like now going to be 21 drivers on the lead lap. Brad Patton going to go 1 down, and it looks like an very long pit stop for Patton. He's going to be banking on the fact that we'll have another yellow flag, and getting himself 1 lap down to fix all damage is the call. No fast repairs in this series, so you got to come down to pit road and get that damage repaired. If there's any opportunity to fully get yourself reset, well, that's all you have, and you're going to have to use it right. Now, Michael Araya up top, Ethan Lane down low. We are going to be setting up for your first restart of the day. Let's get back to it once again. It's going to be 54 down low, the 44 right up top. Time to get things moving one more. Hands of Michael Araya, and Ethan Lane. Green flag gonna fly this time by the end of lap number 37, coming to number 38. Here we go. Lane brings us back to green, and we are underway in Charlotte. Leader's going to come down that back straightaway with ease here. You see there, Tom Wetmore going to be Cody Smith, 2x2. Michael Araya additionally now going to be with Sam Nieto. And you see Araya all the way up to the high side, making his way through. Nice move there for the driver, the number 44, with Sam Nieto right down and under. Dual okay in the chat room as well. Thank you for coming aboard. If you got a favorite driver, and that goes for everyone here, make sure to shout them out in the FTN chat room. We'd love to hear yours. Of course, a lot of great drivers in the field. The talent is stacked, and right now, it's a battle for the late race lead. It's going to be Ethan Lane going down to the inside line with Michael Araya up top. There's the 44 getting the jump on the high side, and similar to our first start of the day, it's going to be Michael Araya once again taking the race lead from Ethan Lane. A little bit of deja vu in terms of the racing as the 44s are once again up in front from the 54. Both have about a few tenths of a second margin, 3/10 that is, over Sam Nieto and company, who are still coming through. 40 laps in at a 200. The first fifth of the race is already done, and it's going to be a bit of a different strategy from here on out. We had our most recent pit stop cycle 5 laps ago, which means the race effectively comes down to 165 laps of racing when we're talking about stops. So 165 laps is technically doable from this point on with 2 pit stops, which would be 60, 60, then go to the end. It could be done, but it is another big risk. No drivers last night were on pace to go for that strategy, with the exception of Gael Brooks, who went for 60-plus laps on his first stint and was the longest driver on every stint immediately thereafter. So it's very unlikely that occurs. However, if any driver really wants to stretch it for a guarantee, that is possible, and it definitely can be done. However, it's not going to be the easiest, and in all honesty, it is far from the safest, so I doubt that any driver will decide to go for that run as opposed to any other alternative strategy ideas. Realistically, expect the 3 pit stop strategy to be the one from here, as drivers will go for about 40 to 50 laps at the very most, and then come down to pit road once again. Here's Nick Ward fighting side by side with Ethan Lane. Going to be a battle here up at the head of the field. Lane going up top, and it's going to be down under. Nick Ward looking better and better as of late, and still looking for that opportunity for win number 1 in his Octane Series career. He's going to get by Lane, getting through quickly. That is going to be for 4th. It looks like Ethan Lane does not quite have the position to hold on for a long-term fight. That's been his big weakness so far in this race. And, of course, only 43 laps in. There's a long time to go to keep evaluating strengths and weaknesses. But it looks like right now Lane is still dropping back. You can see Tom Wetmore, Galen Gidman, and Justin Morton all coming through 2x2. A few of them, but overall everyone has decided to go single file, and that is just the way it is in the opening stages of this race. Looks like once again single file racing going to hold supreme. Galen Gidman up top. It's going to now a little bit of a surge up to the high side for the number 9. He's looking right at Ethan Lane. Take a look on board now with the number 54 from the rear view, and you'll see how hard Galen Gidman is charging. Galen Gidman now going to be within about a quarter of a second. He's gotten himself up inside the top 5 fight, and so is Kyle Cooper. Cooper going up to the high side here, and he's looking real good to make a surge. Kyle Cooper, not the race he wanted last night, had a lot of speed in practices. However, those are pre-race practice sessions, and now he finds himself trying to put that speed together tonight in the real event. Finding himself now up into 5th. Kyle Cooper continues to gain, and is now coming up with Sam Nieto and Nick Ward. You'll see that number 2 machine coming down and low, as is the majority of the field right now, trying to trail Cody Smith. Smith again has just decided to take the lead and run. He is holding no concerns over, maybe being a little bit more conservative, maybe trying to find a way to get away from the pack with a little bit more of a sustainable approach in mind. I don't think that's on the mind right now. That number 18, Cody Smith, is going all in and all out to take the lead as soon as he can for as long as he can. But I don't think for now Michael Araya is too concerned about catching him. He'll just let the chips fall where they may. And right now they may fall in his favor because he is second and running just about as quick as anyone else here, especially that Hornet's Nest right behind him. You see Jacob Fife going to be side by side with Brad Patton. And it's going to be now that number 7 machine of Patton making his way through as a lap machine, mind you. And he's trying to get that lap back naturally in the hopes of another yellow flag. Patton is definitely going to be one of the harder chargers here. He's got an opportunity to explore without really impacting his position because he'll be 1 lap down regardless. Either he does gain or he does lose. It won't really mean all too much at the end of the day. He is still in 22nd. The final driver right now inside the lead lap is Randy Fiash or Alan Rawell. They're 20th and 21st and battling each other. And see here, Brad Patton going up to the high side, trying to get around Sam Nieto. Nieto right now, really no choice but to run his own line. And when the lapper's faster than you and the lapper's actually actively fighting to go back to the race leading lap, it's really tricky to approach this circumstance. But I think for now, Michael Araya understanding, and he's going to cut down to the inside and slot back up. Brad Patton, a man on a mission, and he is due to meet Cody Smith right up next. 18 of Cody Smith going to be coming along right now. He's got the field there with them, 50 laps in, out of 200. The first quarter of this race is out of the way, and we've seen ourselves some good racing so far as everyone gets buckled in. And right now, 51 laps out of 200. First pit cycle is out of the way. First yellow flag, we also saw that too. So we've seen quite a lot of firsts now. We're getting into our procedure, going at it again and again and again, which might get a little bit more tiring for the drivers, but this is going to be an opportunity potentially for the green flag pit cycle, which is still something we have yet to see, and it would be inevitable with how long this race is that we see it in about 30 laps time. Galen Gibman all the way up to the high side there. He will keep things straight, and looks like he lost a little bit of control and a few spots to go with it, but he's still inside the top 10. He lets Ethan Lane go back in for 8th. Lane, who's been struggling, now falls back to the bottom half of the top 10, but it looks like he still is in the top 10, and right now that's all that matters in regards to making the move back up. He can stay here in the back half of the top 10 and wait around trying to figure things out, and he might be one of the drivers that benefits from the weather changing. Seeing the conditions continue to shift, it will no longer be daytime skies or sunset skies for the entire race. In 100 laps from now, this track will be pitch black, and there's no stopping that. So maybe Lane's going to be one of those drivers who is definitely quicker as the race goes on. That happens a lot of instances at these races with track conditions shifting. Don't expect a driver right now who's leading the way in Cody Smith to be the fastest driver when the stadium lights are on, because of course the track going to perform and handle differently as it's going to keep on changing. The track temperature going to keep on dropping. It's going to become less slick, less rubber is going to be laid down, and it's not like ice skating necessarily, but it definitely does handle in a different fashion. So Cody Smith right now just going to have to be a little bit more versatile. I mean, he's doing a good job of holding on the lead. He's gained about 1 full second. Last time he got the lead like this, he lost it in 10 laps, admittedly. So it's a step up, but we got to wonder if it's going to be a permanent step up here, or rather a long-term step up. He will most likely not lead the rest of the laps on the day no matter what happens here, but as long as he stays in the cycle, well, that's a very good sign. 55 laps in out of 200, and if you're watching live on FTN, we would like to thank, of course, the driver of the number, 09 in all of our series. Might not be a driver that we see all too often, but Toll Owen and Tango Paints. That's the place to go for high quality paint schemes all throughout the iRacing community. Check out Tango Paints on Twitter, for the best iRacing paint schemes money can buy, with work for iRacing esports teams such as Ancient World Gaming and notable users of their paint schemes such as Makoni's Setup Shop. Check out Tango Paints after tonight's broadcast, and we'll be right back after a word from our official paint scheme provider at Tango Paints. "57 laps in, they're 3 wide. It's going to be Jacob Fife, Galen Gibman, and Blake Cannon going at each other in the heat of the pack here in Charlotte. You're looking at the Hornet's Nest, and it is dense. Going down to the inside line, Fife there with Galen Gibman, and you can see Cannon right up top. Nancy asking about Tom Wetmore. We mentioned previously, and we'll play it again. I think Tom Wetmore is clutching and coasting. Well, it's no longer the case here. Wetmore going to find himself in that number 51, backing up a little bit more, and previously he was not on the gas through the corners. Might be trying to make some spots back up right now, but we saw earlier he decided through the entry of the corners to lay off the motor end, being a little more conservative like that. It helped him out in staying in the tow. As it stands, the Tube Tech Chevrolet going to be going right down to the inside. Ross Cato is up top, and they'll remain 2x2, 59 laps in out of 200. So Wetmore is not currently backing it up based on strictly strategy. I think right now, though, you see that middle of the packet is dense, and it is intense. You don't want to get caught up there and get yourself in a little bit of trouble here. So most drivers who we saw fighting 2 wide or 3 wide, well, no longer are they doing that. They've once again simmered down and settled down, that is. And we're now moving forth as you see Cody Smith up in front, 60 laps in. He is in control with Cooper and Blake Cannon right behind, 2x2. It's going to be Kyle Cooper, who's held on very well. Now fighting with Blake Cannon. All of a sudden, Kyle Cooper really turning himself to a race-winning contender. And this stint, he has come alive. Still inside the top 5 here, so whatever happens with he and Blake Cannon, there's a chance he defends upon Nick Ward and Ethan Lane. Cooper got the jump, made those spots back up, and found himself up to a high of 4th. No longer in that position, however, and you can see here the 73 is going to be just behind Blake Cannon. And we're right on board with Kyle Cooper for just a moment to see how he's going to handle this situation as Ethan Lane decides to go right down and under. Kyle Cooper right now going to see Ethan Lane get away and getting a little bit loose. Cooper does here off the corner, but he's going to stay straight and keep himself all together. He's got a lot of drivers still to defend upon, and you see there Jacob Fife, Nick Ward, Braxton Uisa. Braxton we haven't mentioned all throughout this race. We did talk about him in qualifying, of course, because he's a driver who started this event. He started inside the top 10, but it's been relatively quiet. Not really as dominant as what we saw last night when he ended up winning by 61 thousandths of a second, and he's been one of the drivers a little more mired back in the strategy tonight. Well, both drivers, of course, we see a few drivers actually. There's more than just Justin Morton and Braxton Uis who came over from last night's race. There's Cody Smith, who right now is fighting for the race lead and losing that race lead to Michael Lariah. There's also Jacob Fife. There's Kyle Cooper. And among others, you see drivers that further back in the field who have also done double starts like Alan Rawell and Brad Patton. Those drivers know one thing: the Xfinity car drives much different from that of the Gen 4. Yes, you can apply some of the same things to the same exact track, but never identical, and that's why some drivers are stepping a little bit further back tonight, why some others are doing a little bit better, and it looks like right now Bobby Ross is going to come down and in after 28 laps here, and it's a very early pit stop for the number 65, maybe part of strategy, deciding to go in early to equalize himself out. Perhaps he comes in nonetheless and decides to make the move through for his first green flag pit stop of the day. It's an interesting call for Bobby Ross there. He's going to make his way down a pit road. Cody Smith is up top, and now Sam Nieto drives right down and under. Ethan Lane going to put himself now in fourth, looking up to the top side here, and you can see now Sam Nieto dropping a little further back. Nieto's a driver who desperately needs these good races to keep on coming. Now 10th in the championship standings. He gained 2 positions in the title fight after last week's event, and now finds himself 189 points out of the championship race. However, he's in a tight title fight with Tom Wetmore in terms of the battle for 8th spot in the standings. He's also there with Ross Cato too. It's a 3-driver fight for 8th. Right now, Ross Cato has it. 7 points back is Tom Wetmore in 9th, and 7 further back is right now Sam Nieto in 10th. There's an opportunity right now for Sam Nieto to gain big time in the point standings for his sake. Has to be mentioned too, he's got a title fight that he's looking for, even if it is not for the overall championship. Nieto now seeing right behind him is Cody Smith. Quick pass there for the number 2 machine, and Sam gets by. And Lane going to be 0.6 of a second back on Michael Araya. No major gains there as Nick Ward is side by side with Kyle Cooper. Nothing going to come of it, but it looks like Ward has the edge. 68 laps in out of 100. Michael Araya at the line. 69 laps through now. He's got himself a nice race lead. Has held on very well in regards to keeping himself leader in America's home for racing. You're watching the Integrity Octane Series World 300, and so far there has been 1 caution, and a majority of the racing has been all green flag. Good to see this style of racing, of course, coming back in the Octane Series. As we saw in the Ignite Series, even though there was a little bit of trouble at the end of the day, it ended up being a very, very clean race. A lot of green flag laps, over 170 of which, and that's something you, of course, always aspire for as a driver, to have those good, clean events which test your skill without being all too annoying. I would tell you this much, even though the drivers are right now, of course, running a very long race and they're not likely to get all too many breaks, I think they prefer that over having multiple long-form caution breaks again and again and again. That just ends up being boring. It ends up being harder for the driver to concentrate, harder for the driver to trust the field around them. Just can't have that, especially if you're looking to go for a consistent run from top to bottom, end to end. That's going to interrupt the driver's momentum. It's going to interrupt the way they're racing with the rest of the field, and it's much better to have these long-form races play out naturally. I think what everyone wants when they come down to the 300-mile race here in Charlotte. We have very few races that are above the 250-mile marker. Last year in the Integrity Octane Series, let's do the counting for just a minute. Talladega just came over. Daytona twice, which was 250 miles apiece for both of them. We also had, in addition, of course, Charlotte, and in all honesty, very little else came even close to 250 miles. So a lot of these drivers are seeing the caution fly, and it looks like the yellow flag is out. Matt Jonas going to be the cause, and we're going to take a look back here. Second yellow flag of the day, and here is your instant replay. Expect that to be the end of your fuel run. That was about 37 laps. Most drivers will be expected to come down to pit road again, and this is the reason why. And it's interesting looking back because Jonas just lost it, and he stayed on the track. That's the problem. Now, it looks like Matt was perhaps trying to steer it out of there, and then Sean Kalis came by. Nothing Sean Kalis could do in that case. It was not at all his fault in that instance, but Matt Jonas, we're going to take a look back here right now, and you're going to see one more time what just happened. Getting loose and bobbling up, and then as the field came by, turning into it. And that's a huge danger. So a safety caution, and the second of which tonight, that's going to bring us back down a pit road. The majority of the field is anticipating a time where, of course, they can come down and in. That time is now. Pit road is busy. Drivers from the front of the field to the back have just made their way through. The entry is going to be crowded. Now time to look at your pit exit and see what's going on here. Ethan Lane going to once again be the leader for the field as he decides to drop through. Michael Araya now going to be in second. Lane has the advantage coming in. Now the question becomes, does he get that edge coming out? 74 laps in, maybe some alternate strategy begins to get its play. And coming off of pit road, the call for Ethan Lane looks like it's going to be as typical as before. He's going to come right beside Michael Araya. And here comes Sam Nieto, Cody Smith. Kyle Cooper's the overall race leader because he went down to pit road 2 laps ago and is very confident in what he has, deciding he doesn't need another chance to go down to pit road. Looks like it's going to be Kyle Cooper, your race leader, this time by 73 machine leads just after your 73rd lap. Simply put, Kyle Cooper gets that strategy game and play perfectly into his hands. It's an awesome opportunity, of course, for the field to make things happen under green, but unfortunately, yellow flag going to get right in the middle of it. For Kyle Cooper, I think that's exactly what he'd like if he wants to keep on fighting for the race lead. 2 laps, and he didn't get them under green. It looks like he's still going to come down to pit road regardless here and get himself extra service. So Kyle Cooper going to be sent to the back of the field, of course, voluntarily. He goes down to pit road, and now Ethan Lane is the leader once again. Lane and Lariah are once again first and second, and it looks like for the 3rd time now, they are the front row, either for the pacing or for the restarts. Now, Sam Nieto 3rd, Cody Smith in 4th, Blake Cannon in 5th. Almost feeling like every time we go down to pit road, it's a reset of the entire pack. Now we're back to square one. Michael Araya right behind Ethan Lane, and we'll see this time whether or not Ethan Lane can hold him off any better. Lane looking to come back into his own later in these stints. It looks like he's not the quickest in the early going especially, and he falls back by the midpoint, but he ends up fast enough to gain a few spots as we come down to the final 10, 15 laps of these stints. I think that's his biggest strength right now, and Lane's going to have to use it if he wants any chance to go for the win. Second caution of the day, 75 laps in out of 200. Right now, everyone going to be pacing. We will go back green at lap number 77, and America's Home for Racing is due to come alive. Once again, this is your second restart of the race. Planned in just a moment's time. There's Kyle Cooper 18th, Alan Rawell going to be in 17th, and Randy Fiash in 16th. They're the drivers in the middle of the field. A few drivers just went down to pit road, Kyle Cooper included. Brad Patton just did, and in addition, Eric McFarland went down to pit road. He now comes down once more, 3 laps down. The cautions have not gotten him up a lap just yet. It looks like that is not really coming to his favor as he comes down with Randy Fiash, and it looks like another driver to pit road. Kyle Cooper one more time. Matt Jonas, the only driver to retire for tonight. Lane, Michael Araya, once again the front row, getting ready to do this once again. 76 laps in, out of 200. It's going to be lap number 77 when we come back to green. And here we go. Lane on the bottom, Michael Araya up on top. And look a few spots backward. Big gain for Justin Morton to get back inside the top 10. Single digits now for Justin. Not bad in the slightest. Brian McFerrin up to 12th. The Under Armour, number 07, been very quiet today. And see, Alan's our images in the chat room. Thank you once again for coming through tonight. Eli Cars is up to 15th, and we haven't mentioned all too much of Eli. He's now going to be up there inside the top 15. That's a pretty big jump from where we saw Eli previously standing outside of the top 20. Made it here now, and it looks like a chance for Cars to hold on to a few spots as we are set to restart once again. Ethan Lane to the bottom side will get us going, and Michael Araya will be up top. Go again, it's going to be your second restart of the day in the World 300. Green flag is going to drop, and Lane will be the man in full control as we grab the gears once again. Blake Cannon going to make it really tight now with Braxton Weiss. Drivers rushing down the back straightaway, and to no avail there for the number 13. Braxton going to find himself in the fight with Cody Smith, Sam Nieto, and Michael Araya. It's a tight battle and a closer pack than ever before, but it looks like everyone is going to stay just right as Ethan Lane leads the way. Lane going to get a jump of about 0.4 of a second, and that's about the biggest jump he's gotten on these restarts here. We'll see how long it takes for Michael Araya maybe to make it back into the picture, because right now it looks like he's not quite swallowing up that number 54 as we saw previously. That has been the trend so far for all of the field. Michael Araya going to find himself in second now to Cody Smith third, Sam Nieto fourth, and fifth is Cannon. Here's a ride on board with Blake Cannon, who rounds out the top 5 as he tries to get oh so close to Sam Nieto and company. Blake Cannon going to lose a few spots here, getting trained up to the high side, and you can see the detrimental effects. That's what happens when you get up there on the top side, and sometimes you just can't come back down. Unfortunately for Cannon, that's exactly how it's going to go. He comes back down in the 11th here, and that is by no means what he wanted. Blake Cannon now going to find himself down behind Ross Cato. Jacob Fife is going to be now 9th. Single digits, all going to be moved one spot up. 0.3 of a second back now. Michael Araya is indeed gaining on Ethan Lane. Coming through, you see that number 44 of Michael Araya. It's making his time back up. He's cut the distance in about half relative to Ethan Lane, and even though he got a huge jump, Lane did. It looks like now Araya with the opportunity to get back in the picture and keep on fighting for the race lead as he did previously. Overall, everyone is going to be very tight, a few tenths of a second apiece, but the closest battle is now Kyle Cooper and Sean Kalist. I think right now Cooper knows he's got the youngest set of rubber. He's got reason to believe he can fight up in front again. He was showing us the speed he had before the stint ended, and he had himself some top 5 pace. Well, how about that? Kyle Cooper now looking down to the inside on Brad Patton once more. Just can't quite get it there because Patton's going to block him, and I think right now for these two drivers, the best thing they can do is possibly work together. Brad Patton knows one thing. He is here to cut through the field once again, and he knows how to cut through a pack with precision unlike anyone else. Well, Brad Patton might be the driver to pass through with. Kyle Cooper right now going to go up to the high side, though, of course, looking for his own opportunity. And as he comes down the back here, he goes high, gets by Patton, and a quick pass there on the number 7 goes to show for Kyle Cooper. The new tires are much more important than working with anyone else, and it is clear Cooper is quick. Coming across the stripe once again, that's going to be the fight right now at lap number 84, trying to get by Brian McFerrin, and this would move Cooper up to 13th, and that it does. Galen Gidman will be up next. And you see, one by one, driver after driver, Kyle Cooper is making up those spots one piece at a time. And he's been able to make them up rather successfully. So don't count out Kyle Cooper here. I think that number 73, he's got himself a load more time, and he is currently at the advantage relative to everyone else. It looks like he's going to cut deep once more. The 86th lap is coming up, and decide to run deep yet again. Just can't get anywhere further as Cooper find himself now right behind Blake Cannon. Galen Gidman gets loose. He will wiggle down to the bottom side and get going once again. Brian McFerrin 14th, Bobby Ross 15th, and then Brad Patton there in 16th. Here's a look further at the front of the field. Braxton DeWeese right now going to be in 4th, to Cody Smith in 3rd, and Smith right now going to be chasing down Michael Araya. Araya now finds himself 2nd, just about 1.2 seconds back. Yeah, we mentioned that he was going to be gaining. It looks like that has changed. It's gone in the opposite direction. Ethan Lane is now once again in full control, and Lane looking to go for this victory with nobody else stopping him tonight. Of course, knowing how big a deal it is for him to get that momentum built up for this championship battle, tonight is not one he can slack on. He needs these points more than just about anyone else. Braxton Deweese has gotten up into fourth, maybe a chance to steal the podium spots away from Smith and Lariah, but no guarantees. He finds himself trailing, but it doesn't mean anything in regards to making gains. You look now with the number 13 machine just behind Cody Smith. Michael Lariah going to be in second, and Ryan now 14/10 of a second behind, and only losing time here, so we'll come across the stripe again for lap number 88. The 88th lap of the day here, getting closer and closer to that halfway point, and the World 300 has been a thriller so far. We've seen 2 cautions to this point, and we're hoping, of course, to go for the rest of the way here under green. That all comes down to what these drivers can do, though, and whether or not they can keep their machinery in one piece all throughout. Sam Nieto going under. Justin Morton stays on the top side, and this is the battle for 5th here. Justin going to get through, and it looks like now neck and neck at the line, the number 11 with the advantage. Take a lap on board right now with Justin Morton, as you're going to see exactly what the number 11 does to maybe try to join the lead battle. Morton, who finished second last night, maybe a chance to do so once again. Justin Morton here going to be a few tenths of a second away, but not close enough to get in that battle. As you can see, Braxton Deweese is all over the number 18 of Cody Smith. Deweese right now going to find himself in 4th. Cody Smith just 1 spot up, and this will determine, of course, who is in and who is out of the podium. Lariah is firmly 2nd, and Ethan Lane firmly the leader. All the while, it's going to be Cody Smith and Braxton Deweese still fighting amongst themselves. Here comes Ross Cato. A little bit of a battle here further on back, although it looks like nobody else going to be as close as what we're seeing up at the head of the field besides the fight for 19th. Eli Carr's the number 82. We mentioned he got up to as high as 14th about 20 laps ago. Well, lost a few spots, but nothing all too crazy. Down to 20th here, and maybe trying to make it back to get up to that 19th spot. John Giervon is right ahead of him here. The number 33 Pepsi right now just about a 10th and a half ahead, and that's Chevy Impala. Yeah, it's a little bit more contention with Eric McFarland in the mix. Alan Rawell now 13 laps down. It looks like Rawell might be end of the race for him. That number 69 machine going to be down and in. As it stands, Eric McFarland going to be 3 down, and Eli Cars is going to be making his way through up to the high side with a little bit of damage. I don't know if Eli is going to be able to sustain any positions here with that damage in mind. He's the last driver on the lead lap now, 12 seconds back. Right now, gains are going to be very unlikely for a driver with some serious right side scraping, which is leading to a little more bending in on the body, and these are not composite bodies that come back quick. So that's bad news for the 82. That really does not come through with any positive side effects. Looking at the front of the field here, Cody Smith, Braxton Deweese have been caught up to ever so slightly by Sam Nieto. That time by Nieto, of all the drivers inside the top 5, ran the 3rd quickest time, and this time around he's going to run a time quicker than the 2 drivers directly ahead of him. Once again, the 3rd fastest time of the top 5. It was a 30.728, and it looks like right now Sam is quicker than both Cody and Braxton Deweese on a lap-by-lap basis. So we'll see whether or not that stays the same. Of course, from here on out, it's going to be the number 2 of Sam Nieto, finding himself in 5th, Cody Smith in 4th, and Braxton Deweese 3rd. But if there's a driver quicker, maybe that all changes. Keep in mind, Jacob Fife is almost on the pace of your 2nd-place driver, Michael Lariah. That time by, though, it changed. He had a much slower lap, 2 tenths behind, but he's also gaining time, too. And it looks like slowly but surely the field stringing itself together a little bit more so than what we saw previously. Now, Michael Lariah is gaining time on Ethan Lane. It was about a 1/100th of a second gain on the previous lap, so nothing huge, but At the same time, it goes to show their drivers now getting a little bit tighter. The drivers who were aggressive, maybe seeing their losses, and the drivers are playing it a little more conservatively. Well, they are beginning to see their gains. It's going to be the number 44 working through just about 1 second flat now behind Ethan Lane. Ethan might have to watch out because all of a sudden it looks like that number 44 has enough pace to catch and gain. Ethan Lane now going to be 97 laps through in this one, and he should be the driver that leads us to the halfway point, but Michael Araya is beginning to maybe turn on those jets. Watch out, the fight for the lead has only just begun. Sam Nieto going to be in 5th here and about a 10th and a half back on Cody Smith. Bringing Jacob Fife with him is going to help out big time and perhaps freight training the number 18. Nieto looking down and in. Here comes the number 2. And you can see Sam now cutting deep to the inside. And Sam Nieto now going to be side by side. No trace in the back camera right now. As you can see, Cody Smith gets away up top. That's the first chance Sam Nieto's had to really take that position away. It's an honest effort, but really can't get the result he'd like. And as such, Nieto going to keep on waiting. 99 laps in out of 100. We are coming very close to what it will be our halfway point. Ethan Lane coming across the stripe this time by. It's going to be lap 100, the triple digits. And go again from the America's home for racing. Lane brings us to lap 100. Michael Araya going to be 2nd, and Braxton Weiss is in 3rd. And right now, Lane going to bring us down to the halfway point. That's going to help him out with a few bonus points as a result of being the halfway winner. And this season, we do not have the stage cautions, which you may remember from 2023. Halfway points awarded to the driver who leads at this halfway marker in every race. Lane going to get his dues tonight, and he will lead us now with 100 laps on the board. 100 laps remaining. Lane now going to be the driver pulling through with about a 1.3 second lead again. Looks like Michael Araya going to drop back a little bit further than he'd like. Bad news there for the number 44, and Braxton Weiss now going to see the infighting between Cody Smith and Sam Nieto. Here comes the 2 up top. Try to slot it in using that higher groove, but Cody Smith continuously defending and doing a real good job at that. It has become harder and harder to make these passes as the race has progressed, and like now with Cody Smith effectively using the inside line, he will make it tricky, but admittedly not impossible for Sam Nieto. Nieto stays high, looking up at the top side here. What can Sam do? It looks like he's just going to keep it there and make the move. Nieto up into 4th. Jacob Fife is going to be in 6th here. Now might be able to make up another spot on Cody Smith. Sam Nieto goes away, and Jacob Fife now coming in. The inside groove, you've got Cody Smith finding himself far and away from it, but he's now got a little more competition as Smith finds himself in a bit of a sandwich. Sam Nieto gets away, and Jacob Fife is right up next. What's the 36 going to do? That is the big question. Tom Wetmore going to be 7th, and Nick Ward going to be in 8th. They're a little bit further back. They're still onlookers in this battle. Don't expect them to get necessarily involved here as Cody Smith goes way high. Smith comes up side by side with Fife here, and Cody is in the wall. Bad news for the number 18. He will lose that spot by default. Just like that, Cody Smith now going to be in 6th. 97 laps to go, and Smith now going to see Tom Wetmore coming on up. And like now, Wetmore with the opportunity to get back inside the top 5 if he keeps on fighting. That time by, Wetmore ran a lap substantially quicker than almost everyone ahead of him. With the exception of your top 2, Tom Wetmore would be the quickest driver on the field, and definitely running laps quicker than Jacob Fife, definitely running laps quicker than Cody Smith. And right now, Wetmore with the opportunity to take one quick spot away and then keep on going for the remainder of the battle. With 96 laps to go, while far away from your leader, drivers like Fife might be a little bit more tangible to reach. And look on board now with Wetmore, you'll see exactly how he approaches the number 18. Looking down to the inside groove here for Tom Wetmore. He's going to take it deep sea diving here down to the lowest portion of turn 1 and under by the paint groove. Tom Wetmore now has himself a little bit more speed coming off the corner, and that paint groove is applicable if necessary. And it looks like Wetmore decides to go for a block up top, and that's going to really compromise Cody Smith. So that's going to be a very tricky block to pull off, but it works out. And Tom Wetmore makes it by 94 laps remaining. It's going to be 93 up next, of course, 107 laps in and beyond the halfway margin. And of course, that threshold, we've passed it. Wetmore getting the pass up for 6th, as most other drivers have really settled themselves in. This has been a 33 lap stint, so about the second longest we've had. We'd have to go 5 more laps for it to be the longest stint of the day, which came in at about 38 laps until drivers came into pit road. Now that we're getting to that point, 108 laps in for Ethan Lane, pit road is going to be once again on the minds of all these drivers, which of course due to come up very soon. 93 laps to go this time by, and we're coming up with only 92 remaining. Lap 109 here on FTN, brought to you by Tango Paints. Love for you to check out our friends at Tango Paints, who provided some high-quality paint schemes for well-known, reputable iRacing teams such as Ancient World and sponsors such as McConey Setup Shop. Visit Tango Paints on Twitter for the best iRacing paint schemes and liveries on the market, and we will return after a message from Tango Paints, the official paint scheme provider of FTN. Nick Ward right now, that number 97, he's going to find himself 9th, and as we come back from our 109 lap break, well, 91 laps to go. We are coming through, first half out the way, and what's next? Well, this is when it gets real intense. If you sat with us here for the first 100 plus laps, everyone's still getting warmed up, in all honesty. It's 150 miles, which in itself is a decently sized race. We've seen 150-mile races in this league already this season, and by this point, we'd already be done and done. As it stands, let's give you the 36 of Jacob Fife fighting with Tom Wetmore. Take a look off the back bumper of Fife here and see what's going on. And it looks like Jacob Fife going to be passed quite quickly there from Tom Wetmore. The back bumper going to be open for him, but up in front, not quite. Tom Wetmore moves up inside the top 5, and his next target will, of course, now be Sam Nieto. Making it through slowly but surely, lap after lap. It's been methodical for the 51 of Wetmore. And these drivers, of course, have to be methodical. But for Tom Wetmore, he's been up and down on the circuit today, and teammates, unfortunately, nowhere to be seen up at the front of the field. John Steele not able to make the start tonight, whereas, well, Eric McFarland has been caught up in trouble since the get-go. Well, it's only because he got involved with the very first incident of the day. He went 3 laps down, and that was all she wrote. He's still 3 laps down. However, 87 laps to go and still 3 laps down is a really bad indicator of what is yet to come, especially with multiple drivers now 1 lap down. Matter of fact, Eli Cars just went down to pit road for green flag service, and as he makes his way in, see now, the driver of the number 82, Carr is going to make it through. And just like that, it's the Slackers Chevy on the way again. That's our first driver to come down to pit road in this stint who was on the lead lap, and Bobby Ross decided to do so immediately thereafter. Now these drivers are looking at pit road, and evaluating the option, we're going to definitely see more come through in the next 10 to 15 laps. Ethan Lane is all of a sudden in his own world, and even though the gap for the lead is less than a second again, it's become a very tricky circumstance. Lane in the number 54, finding himself here, of course, out in front, but you gotta wonder, what can he do to maintain it? Pit strategy played a major role in last night's race. Even for the drivers who were definitely good to go to fight for the win, it meant an awful lot. And as we have a little bit of time here, we'll explain the circumstance from last night, because it had to do with a driver who was in this race right now. Third place, Braxton DeWeese. It was DeWeese, DJ Stagner, and Thomas Bresci, the 1-2-3 combo at the front of the field, who were fighting it all for the race win, and they were going at each other. It was a great battle for the first 100+ laps, but it came down pit strategy in a major way. DJ Stagner, he did something completely different from those around him. He went in for a very short stint early, and he said in the interview last night that he had for his third place finish. He's not often a driver to go in for those very short stints, but he went in after 45 laps. The average run was about 52, and he came in early and decided to get that lead with older tires. Thomas Bresci and Braxton DeWeese more or less played off each other. They went for about the average of 50, 51, 52, and they did things normally, just getting that pace to keep them moving. And as fighting as hard as they could, they made things happen, and as such, they were the top two drivers on the typical strategy, shall we say. DJ Stagner started on a much different strategy, with younger tires set to start, but much older later on, so his tire wear was extreme. But the way he made up for it was a longer second and third pit stop stint, which meant that eventually, by the end of the final run, or the end of the penultimate run, leading into the last 25-30 laps, he would have been on the exact same run of tire, which means he started with the disadvantage and slowly but surely worked his way into the right position. Now, that really cannot happen tonight, at least in the same capacity, given the fact that these drivers find themselves right now in a position where everyone's basically on a level playing field. But because it can't, you're going to have to get a little bit more creative if you're a driver. And right now, there comes Cody Smith down and in. Sean Kalis is going to make the move as well. And Sean, that number 43, opting to come through. He's now one down. So is Cody Smith. And green flag pit stops are now truly on their way for the race leaders of the field. 46 laps in. That is going to be the longest stint so far. And drivers are going to keep on breaking that record, expecting to go to 55. That's the estimate tonight. Caution's out! And the yellow flag is out on their green flag cycle. And the reason? Kyle Cooper. And we are pacing once again. Oh, can you believe it? The 73 Cooper looks banged up too. Trouble here in Charlotte again. So Kyle Cooper going to be the reason for this one. He's going to be spinning out loose from the back, and he overcorrects up on the track, and that was the difference. Gotta wonder, maybe he could have taken it down to pit road and locked it down, but he thought he had it saved. And that quick jolt back up the track, that's going to change everything. Here's a look one more time at what just occurred. Fortunate, and here's the instant replay with Kyle Cooper, who was coming off pit road with new tires, and it looks like he put the throttle down a little quick. So Cooper going to end up spinning, and you see it there, just sliding around, and that's going to bring us back under pacing. So once again, level playing field, as pit road is once again going to be equalized. Don't expect to see all too many chances at a green flag pit stop from here. 79 laps to go. Randy Fiash scored as your leader because everyone else has come down to pit road, and Ethan Lane looks to have the advantage again. Nobody going to beat the 54 out, but it's going to be Lane. Then looks like Michael Araya over Braxton DeWeese. Sam Nieto going to be fourth, and Tom Wetmore going to round out the net top five. Randy Fiash going to be forced to go down to pit road eventually here. Don't expect Randy to stay much longer, as he will get the lap lead bonus and be done with it. 79 laps remaining, and since we are, for the first time, under yellow in the second half of this race, let's run through your current top 10. Randy Fiash in first, Ethan Lane in second, Michael Araya third, and Braxton Deweese then in fourth. Fifth place is going to be Sam Nieto with Tom Wetmore in sixth, and Justin Morton seventh, Blake Cannon eighth, and Jacob Fife in ninth. Nick Ward going to round out the top 10, and Brad Patton is in 11th here, but right now the focus is Cody Smith in 15th. Next Level Racing, and we've discussed them all throughout 2023 and 2024. Last time we went to Charlotte with the Integrity Racing League, we were crowning a champion. Well, this season, it's not quite the same. However, the stakes are just about as high. Championship prize for the Ignite and Octane Series. It's a $2,000 sim rig courtesy of our friends at Next Level Racing. And the championship battle means that every race matters. So stay tuned all throughout the campaign, and you're going to watch who comes home with the Next Level Racing sim rig of choice, the champion with the opportunity to go for the biggest prize in Integrity Racing League history. 2009, Next Level Racing has provided high-quality sim racing performance products for dedicated sim racers who deserve nothing but the best. Visit nextlevelracing.com after tonight's broadcast, and we are going to return with 78 laps remaining. You're watching live on FTN, coverage exclusively of the Integrity Octane Series World 300. .77 laps remaining. It's Ethan Lane and Michael Araya. They're up at the top of the board again. You sense a pattern? I'll say this much. They've had the biggest advantage in terms of that pit road call each and every time. And I don't think Michael Araya was expecting to have this opportunity come so clearly again, but here he is, and the number 44 Sim Speed Shop Chevrolet, say that 10 times fast, is once again in second, right beside your race leader. Now the question is going to become, what is going to happen here for the number 44 machine of Michael Araya? Does he have an opportunity to slide around the outside this time by? Is Ethan Lane just got the speed now in the nighttime sky to pick up the pace and have the advantage? Going to be a time for another driver to come through and rise through the ranks. It's been the Michael Araya and Ethan Lane show all race long. Really no variety ever since that opening run. So we'll see what can be done here with 77 remaining. It is now Ethan Lane at the helm. Michael Araya right up top, 2x2 for our third restart of the day. Ethan Lane going to be bringing us back into the green flag swing of things. Green flag out. Back on the move here from Charlotte. Lane brings us through, and we're underway for the first restart of the second half. And everyone's going to get a huge jump here. You know, this is the final opportunity for so many drivers to make something happen. Ethan Lane going to once again get that quarter of a second advantage, and it looks like nobody else able to keep up. At the line, it's going to be the driver, the number 44, Michael Araya, now in second, and Ethan Lane getting that jump again. Here we go. The number 54 getting the advantage and pulling himself through. He's got himself now just a little bit closer, Michael Araya does. see whether or not he has an opportunity to make something happen with Sam Nieto behind and Braxton Deweese even further back. Blake Cannon now putting the pressure on Tom Wetmore, and Cannon has shot himself back into the picture. We haven't mentioned all too much of Blake throughout tonight. Looks like now he's got an opportunity to return to the playing field as a race-winning contender. Cannon now up to the high side. He gets the move done on Braxton Deweese for fourth. Nice move there. Sam Nieto going to be third indeed, but that might change with Cannon continuing to pull high. Blake Cannon up to the top side, making it work, getting all through the higher groove, which nobody else seems to have the same rate of success at. Looks like right now, Blake trying to make something happen that nobody else has done. Take a look here. You see how most drivers are now trying to work to that bottom side. Blake Cannon is taking pride up there in what looks to be the second and third lane, and it has worked out to get him up into second here. Keep in mind, everyone on a level playing field in terms of tires again. We'll stress that once more. 4 tires and fuel, just about everyone went for it, and the reason being now, you see Michael Araya up to the high side. He can't go. Blake Cannon has now made it 2-2 for the race lead. It looks like Ethan Lane now far out the picture, and Michael Araya might be put in the dust. Cannon to the race lead for the first time tonight, and all of a sudden Blake finds himself as your race leader in the Charlotte World 300. Out of nowhere, Blake Cannon has come through as a leading contender. A very impressive run, of course, but a short stint, and we'll see how well it works out, of course, in exchange for getting that aggression up now. What's going to come of it later? Does the tire wear end up taking him further out of the picture? Is there an opportunity to keep on succeeding with a green flag pit stop? Do these drivers in response get a little more aggressive and put more pressure back on him? A lot of questions, and I think rightfully so, they're going to be asked. Braxton Deweese going to lose some time now to Jacob Fife, and you see that 36 running down and under. The undercut going to work for the 36 machine. Physically speaking, he takes himself down to the bottommost part of the track that he can, and he'll make it by the 13 of Braxton Deweese with ease. Brad Patton right now going to find himself 7th with Nick Ward in 6th. That's going to change though, because Patton now takes the 6th spot and looks on at Tom Wetmore as another opportunity for a pass. 70 laps to go, coming down to what will only be 69 laps remaining. Blake Cannon, he shot himself out to this point, and he is not looking to go back. Here's a ride on board from the rearview mirror of the 27 machine to see what's going on for Cannon as he looks on back. 69 to go, and a nice fight is developing. Michael Araya up to the high side, and it's now going to be that number 27. A very tricky position here. Araya now going to see Blake Cannon gets even more loose. Going down to the inside line. Cannon now going to jump deep furthermore, and it looks like he jumps deeper to the apron. Not the right direction. He goes from lead down to 4th with Ethan Lane, maybe pushing to take one more position away. Ethan gets in the wall just a little bit, just a scrub. Won't take him out of momentum fully. With 68 laps to go, you can't afford to lose any more momentum. Regardless of your position, it is tense. And Sam Nieto now going to find himself the race leader amidst all the scuffling. Brad Patton is even up to 3rd. So you're seeing now drivers go up and down all throughout. Some drivers we haven't seen leading all day long, and Sam Nieto of all drivers getting the opportunity out in front. This is big. The number 44 of Sam Nieto making his time, and of course now fighting with the 44 of Michael Araya. Our apologies there. It is all going to come down to whether or not Sam Nieto can hold on in that number 2 and keep the position he's got. Michael Araya going to be there in 2nd, and Brad Patton 3rd. Lane going to be 4th, and Blake Cannon 5th. Tom Wetmore 6th. Fife in 7th. They're separate by 1 full second. That is it right now. It all comes down to that top 7 grouping, who are the closest of anyone. 65 lap to go marker is in the air. It's going to be right now Michael Araya who finds himself in second, Sam Nieto going to be leading. And look like right now in the World 300, these drivers who have been fighting diligently throughout the night, they're in a position where it comes down to this. One more green flag pit stop if we get any more. With a 14 lap stint and 65 laps remaining, expect perhaps 30 more laps until our pit stop. That's what I think we're going to end up seeing. As it stands right now, 64 remaining for Sam Nieto and Michael Araya, the 1-2 combo. I think right now they're starting to figure out when to go from the middle of the rotation. Of course, that's going to come down to whether or not they choose to split it evenly. They might not. They might try to go a little bit longer and have that very short stint at the end, but that remains to be seen. Everything's still up in the air. Ross Cato going to be in 10th here with Braxton Deweese in 9th. Braxton falling back a little bit further than he was before, and as everyone else has gotten so much more competitive here, it looks like Braxton admittedly falling a little bit further back than I think he'd like to be. Dropping out of the picture for the race lead, and although that might not be permanent here, Brad Patton up on the wall, and he's going to try to escape it quick. He does, but they go 3 wide, Wetmore in the grass, and Tom's going to keep it together, but it won't be easy. Tom Wetmore down to the grass and nearly out of control, and 3 wide, way too down low there for both those drivers in Cannon and Wetmore. Oh, wow. Blake Cannon actually gets the best of it. Brad Patton was on the high side, but he drops back and might even lose a spot now to Tom Wetmore. Can't believe it. Tom Wetmore getting it done again for the save. 61 laps to go here, and he finds himself in a tight spot. The 51 machine of Wetmore, of course, going to find himself rounding out the top 5 with Brad Patton in 6th, Jacob 5 7th. 8th place is Nicholas Ward, and with a moment like that, 3 wide, it is dangerous timing for all these drivers here. It comes down to whether or not they can keep things moving from the front of the field on back with patience. Even though, of course, we see now a little bit more aggressive driving. How patient can you be here in this circumstance? That's going to define whether or not you succeed, regardless of where you are. Ethan Lane up in the wall. Michael Araya going to be going here for second. It's the fight for position number 2, and it looks like Lane is quicker. He's got momentum, and he makes it by. Quick move there for the 54, and he is now going to be fighting for the lead. Here comes Ethan Lane. He's going to be looking for position number 1, and in no time, he'll drop down and under. Ethan Lane now going to put himself in a real good position, of course, to battle down the back straightaway and keep gaining in his lead. He's got the advantage, and now he's just going to have to fight with himself to keep stretching what he's got. He's got a gap, that's for certain, and Sam Nieto now going to be second to Michael Araya in third. 1, 2, 3, the 44 coming down to the inside groove, and as Michael Araya now takes himself down to the bottom, well, there's maybe a better opportunity for him to cut under Sam Nieto on this corner set. 1 and 2, he'll make it in the second, and Sam Nieto now dropping back further into third. Blake Cannon going to be fourth and Tom Wetmore fifth. The closest battle on the racing circuit is now going to be Brad Patton and Nick Ward. Patton going to find himself just about within the fight for the top 5. He fell back from the podium, of course, but he still is not in a bad shape at all. He had damage earlier, had a long pit stop, went 1 lap down, banked on the caution successfully, and he's returned to fight another day. 57 laps to go, and by all accounts, this race is not a failure for the driver who started in 21st. He's still there inside the top 10, running in 8th right now, with the potential to go up to 7th in any moment's notice. So I'll tell you this much, Brad Patton not down and out. I think he's only just getting started in regards to the best laps ahead of him, and Braxton Deweese now looking to charge up as he goes down and under, nearly going to be cutting through the apron there, but Braxton keeps it straight, and now is going to be diving deep as the number 7 decides to stay topside. Braxton Deweese right there. Ross Cato going to fade back just a little bit more. And it looks like right now, Ross Cato not in a good position to make the pass, but he's waiting in the wings, and that's about the best thing you can do if you're not fully confident about making that move. Blake Cannon is in the wall, and he is stalled. Cannon in trouble, caution's out. Here's an instant replay. We're going to figure out what just caused it. I think Cannon might have had a hardware failure the way things are looking. So Cannon up at the high side here, and you can see coming out of 4. No, he gets loose with Tom Wetmore, and he just stays up in it. That's going to call the caution, and it looks like Blake Cannon now going to go 1 lap down. Tom Wetmore did eventually get away with it, but for Blake Cannon, he will get the yellow flag. However, he's going to be put 2 laps down now as Blake gets on the way just a little bit. I don't think it was substantial damage unless he got really hooked into the wall. I think that's maybe what happened. Oh, and Blake Cannon's night might have just gone down the drain. What looked like a small issue has become that much worse, and Cannon will have to tow effectively. That's his night. I don't think he's going to be able to fight for the race lead any longer. Bad news there, and I think we're going to see drivers come down to pit road once again. This might eliminate the opportunity for a green flag pit cycle after all, and this is going to be your 4th yellow flag of the day. We really haven't had many. They've just come at inopportune times. Strategy and everything involved. So, just like that, 54 laps remaining. The 54 of Lane leads us in, and you're going to see Ethan coming through. The advantage on entry. He's had it consistently. Now we're going to see who gets their way on the road out. Ethan Lane, Michael Araya going to be head-to-head here. We'll see who gets the better of each other as we're coming through now. Randy Fiash decides to stay out to get another lap led, so he's going to decide to hold on, and it looks like right now Ethan Lane getting the move on, and he's going to pull through easily ahead of Michael Araya, Sam Nieto, Jacob Fife, and Braxton Deweese to round out the top 5. There you have it. 53 laps to go. Another pit cycle in the books. If you're enjoying tonight's coverage of best sim racing on the market, iRacing, we'd love for you to check them out at iRacing.com. 40% off for all memberships as it stands. They've been having fantastic sales all year long. The discounts have been incredible. So if you want to check out the fun on iRacing, visit their website at iRacing.com to join over 100,000 dedicated sim racers who, of course, we mention all the time on this network. Many disciplines: open wheel, stock car racing, rallycross, off-road, endurance, and anything you could think of, iRacing will have you covered. Visit the eNASCAR newsletter as well for up-to-date information about virtual stock car racing's highest level, and we will return after a brief promotional break from iRacing and our friends at iRacing Motorsport Simulations.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
We'll be coming back green with 50 laps remaining. Ethan Lane is your race leader, and as such, he finds himself now trailed by Michael Araya in 2nd and Sam Nieto in 3rd. 4th place is going to go then to Jacob Fife, and Braxton Deweese rounds out the top 5. Brad Patton going to be 6th, and 7th spot overall is going to be Justin Morton. Brian McFerrin is going to be 8th, and then Bobby Ross in 9th. Nicholas Ward rounds out the top 10, and Ross Cato is in Now 12th as John Giervon goes right beside him. 150 laps in, we're down to the home stretch here in Charlotte, and if you made it this far, well, we say it again, it's only going to get more intense from here. We're starting to see that intensity ramp up. Cautions have been semi-frequent tonight. They've happened a few times, more often than not than we'd like to see it. A few minor incidents and one big one earlier in the day, but overall we've seen multiple yellow flags, and we find ourselves going to go at it one more time. 50 laps to go. Hopefully a short sprint from here, and we'll see whether or not Ethan Lane wins it. If Michael Araya can get it done, maybe someone else does. Could be Sam Nieto. Could end up being a driver like Braxton Deweese or Brian McFerrin or someone we have not mentioned previously. Maybe the chance for the underdogs to pull through in the next coming laps. Here we go again, though, with 51 laps remaining, and it's going to be the field in the hands of number 54 of Lane. Let's do it one more time here with Ethan in control, Michael Araya right beside, and it's going to be by 2 at the front of the field. Once again, Ethan Lane is the control car. Let's get at it once more with 50 laps remaining. Lane and Araya, they've been the front row for every restart so far tonight. Nobody's gotten through them, and they're looking to lead us in once again. Ethan Lane going to find himself there advantageous as we are going to get down to the green for 50 more laps of racing in Charlotte. Ethan Lane is in control. 0.2 of a second behind. You are going to find, well, Michael Araya, Sam Nieto there too. But overall, these drivers, well, they find themselves, for the most part, still fighting amidst one another. The leader, a very small portion of drivers going to be following him. Lane once again getting a big jump. It looks like the rest of the pack just cannot compete. Brian McFerrin going to be the final driver of 6, who looks to be relatively close to your leader. And right now, that's going to be a 6-car grouping, 13/10 of a second apart. Maybe an opportunity for things to get going with McFerrin and Brad Patton 6th and 7th. Bobby Ross going to be 8th and Justin Morton 9th. Tom Wetmore position number 10. Jacob Fife then 11th and Cody Smith in 12th. Eli Carr's 13th and Galen Gidman in 14th. Ross Cato position number 15 and Sean Kalis 16th place. 47 laps to go this time by, and the World 300 coming down to a close. Lane going to find himself now working down that back straightaway once again, and he's got the edge. Take a look back right now, and you'll see Michael Araya, in all honesty, not making many gains. It looks like now Michael Araya, matter of fact, is losing time. And it's clear now, more than ever before, that it looks like it is Ethan Lane in full control. There's Braxton Deweese, who finds himself 4th. Nick Ward, who's going to be in 5th and 6th places. Brian McFerrin. Bobby Ross going to be 7th, and Tom Wetmore in 8th. Brad Patton and Justin Morton 9th and 10th. But you see that gap slowly but surely widening for everyone. No longer is it going to be an ultra-dense group of drivers, as we saw at the beginning of this race. Now it's more single file, more spread out, and definitely less racy. Among other things, these drivers now beginning to fight each other with a little less aggression. Maybe trying to get to the end of this race is everyone's plan now. Only 44 laps to go, so you really can't go all too wrong from here. If you made it to this point, you're effectively guaranteed a top 20 finish. Looking at the standings anyway, Blake Cannon, who retired 12 laps ago, was 21st, and there's no other driver from beyond that point still on the circuit, so a top 20 can be guaranteed. Nothing else can be. I think drivers are just going to keep on fighting from here, and their aggression level as well, it might fluctuate, but right now, everyone going nice and easy. As the caution flies again, it's going to be Sean Kalis who ends up destroyed. And Kalis is bent up bad. Oh, Sean Kalis with 43 laps to go brings out the caution again. Here's the instant replay. And you see Sean Kalis coming across here in the number 43. Looks like he just get loose, and he's going to end up losing it and destroying himself right there. The pit road barrier caught in the middle, and the caution will fly. Just about the worst way it could have gone there for Sean Kalis. 42 laps ago, yellow flag is out once again. Ethan Lane finds himself even still as your race leader, and we are once again going to be pacing after one of the shorter stints on the day. That's going to be yellow flag number 5. Unfortunately for Kalis, that's his second caution of the day that he was involved in, or rather, second incident of the day. Not involved in 2 cautions. Bad news regardless, and Ethan Lane is going to be leading from Michael Araya. Third, going to be Sam Nieto, Braxton DeWeese 4th, Nick Ward in 5th, and Brian McFerrin, position number 6. Bobby Ross going to be in 8th as it stands, and as it stands indeed, everyone going to come down to pit road. It is a huge roll in. Might just be the final of the night. From this point on, everyone can make it. Pit road going to be empty with Brian McFerrin finding himself the new race leader. Lane and Nieto are first and second off of pit road. And as you can see now, 54 machine of Lane once again is on top. Ethan Lane going to hold his own, getting once again out of pit road in one piece. And it looks like he's going to be once again better than all of his contemporaries further on back. These drivers have been all over each other all night long with very little change for Ethan Lane. He has decided to keep himself calm and consistent, remaining up in front. 41 laps remaining here in the World 300, and we've come down to the home stretch. It looks like, unfortunately, things have gotten a little bit slower from where we started. A few cautions coming in succession, and it's getting trickier to continuously put the speed down for the field. But see what Lane and company can do as multiple drivers opt to go down to pit road. Brian McFerrin brings in a few drivers, but does not bring in Brad Patton, nor does he bring in Jacob Fife. First and second here. And it is going to be 1-2 for a new group of drivers on the front row. Brad Patton going to be the man who leads the way as we will come through with 40 laps remaining. And we are set to do things once again. It'll be 39 laps to go, and we go green. Brad Patton going to be leading the way, Jacob Fife second, and Galen Gibbon in third. 1-2-3 combo. Cody Smith now in fourth. Different order, and you'll see Ethan Lane for the first time not on the front row for this restart. That's because he went down to pit road, and he finds himself now in sixth. 40 laps remaining in the World 300, and we are just a few laps away from what will eventually be the end of the longest scheduled race on this season's calendar. It's been a long haul so far, but we're due to make it in once again. Brad Patton, 1 lap to green, caution slightly extended. We'll go back green with 38 laps to go here in the World 300. Things getting tricky. Life among others. Now trying to go for a gamble. A little bit older tire, a little more track position. Maybe it's the right call. That remains to be seen as Jacob goes up top and Brad goes down low. Maybe the whole goal is to get a little bit more time on the green, then get a caution. 35 lap stint. That would be all the difference. 39 laps to go this time by, and it's going to be 8 up next. Brad Patton under, Jacob Fife up top, 162 laps on the table to this point. And now it's time to figure out who's got what it takes for what will be the remaining 38, potentially wholly under green. Side by side, with a total now of 19 drivers still racing. Sean Kalis going to retire, Blake Cannon the same, Alan Rodwell effectively off the track for the night, and Matt Jonas, the first retiree of this race, now coming through for the final few laps. Now, tonight has had more cautions than yesterday. We saw only 3 in the Integrity Octane Series event, or rather, Ignite Series event yesterday, and the Octane Series event last season was quite clean in its own right, but tonight, a few more cautions than maybe we'd like, and coming down to that final stretch, not a lot of them have been big incidents. That's the big takeaway. Come down to some bad luck, misfortune perhaps, and maybe a chance to right those wrongs in this final stint, as Brad Patton is duty to the man who brings us back to order. Patton, Fife, Smith, Galen Gidman, that's your top 4. Green flags out for a new bunch of drivers up in front. We're back on the way from Charlotte. A little bit of that 3-wide racing. Galen Gidman going to be with Ethan Lane side by side. It was 3-wide for a moment with Ross Cato, but Cato going to lay further back. Sam Nieto going to be right now to the underside of Ross Cato as well. How about Tom Wetmore getting in the mix here? And it's becoming a who's who of drivers up at the front of the field all over again. You can see now Braxton Weiss up top, Tom Wetmore down low, and it looks like Ross Cato going to have to slot in to the line once again as Sam Nieto gets a quick pass through. Al Nieto, who is in the 6th position, finds himself in a very, very close position, of course, indeed, with the number 12. 2 and 12 coming across the stripe again with 36 laps to go. The World 300, it has been a race of attrition, and for Ross Cato and Sam Nieto, they're well-known survivors in terms of how they drive throughout the field, getting to the very end. As it stands, that's exactly what they've done race after race for the entire Octane Series career. It's all about making it to that checkered flag. To finish first, you first must finish. And that's been the attitude adopted by the both of them. And you see it here, despite all the troubles we've seen, the setbacks for those drivers in the field, they're here. And with 35 laps to go, they are still not done. Cody Smith and Brad Patton going to be first and second now. Patton has decided to stay out in front, and Smith has too. But Ethan Lane now looking down to the inside, and Lane looks like Braxton Weiss did last night. He does not want to be denied, and he will go right down under the 54, makes the move, splits them both, and now Lane has himself one more driver to go until he gets back to the point. 34 laps remaining. The question becomes now, what does he do here with Brad Patton, who's right in front of him? He's got the track position, but he does have all the rubber, and with a 10-lap disadvantage for Patton, this shouldn't be too challenging. Let's see how Ethan Lane approaches it. Now it's going to be Ethan Lane driving right above Cody Smith. Gap between them must have been less than 1/100 of a second, and Lane's going to lay down a mean block, all the while Brad Patton getting a little bit more leeway as a result of that quick circumstantial error. And now Ethan Lane is going to have to find an opportunity to roll right under the number 7. Lane now going to be diving deep to the inside groove. Can't quite make anything of it there, and he's going to wiggle up top. 168 laps into 169. Now Ethan Lane within 9/100. Cautions out again. It's going to be Eli Cars. And Cars is going to be destroyed. down the front straightaway, perhaps a similar incident to what we saw from Sean Kalist. Let's bring the tape back. It looks like it's a very similar caution. And it's unfortunate now that we're getting to the point where these single car incidents are the reason for the yellow flags. Keep in mind, automatically thrown by iRacing, so the admins are not going to be playing a part in this one, but well, it's about the same thing. Cars came down and in, destroyed. We saw that caution last time around. We saw it this time by. Eli Cars and Sean Kalist will go out with the same cruel fate, and the yellow flag is out once again. Brad Patton, 31 laps to go, finds himself the race leader, and now as the iRacing official pace card comes out again, it's yellow flag number 6. So we're slowly but surely adding a few more onto the table here. I would like to say that one wasn't necessary, but we did see a huge incident that came out of that one, just exploding back onto the circuit. We saw it previously, though, so unfortunately that is just about a direct replica of Sean Kalist's wreck a few laps prior. 31 laps remaining. We'll be going until about lap 29 to go, which will be lap 172, and pit road is busy again, so this is going to help out Brad Patton. Patton stays out! Everyone else goes in. Brad Patton stays out. Well, that's going to be a big change. A few other drivers do. Michael Laraya, Justin, well, Morton does too, and Nick Ward. Now we're going to see what's going on here as drivers make their way through once again. Ethan Lane should have the advantage in the win off pit road one more time. Maybe there's an opportunity here for Lane to make things happen, but I don't quite think it's going to be the same here as it was previously. Might actually be a little bit easier for Ethan Lane. He's going to get back on the way now as Cody Smith, Jacob Fife, and company follow. A few drivers decide to do things different. Michael Laraya stays out on the track, and Nicholas Ward going to be in 3rd. Justin Morton 4th, and Kyle Cooper 5th. Randy Fiash, position number 6. 30 laps to go. Brad Patton, Michael Laraya, Nicholas Ward, Justin Morton, and Kyle Cooper. Top 5 as it stands with 30 laps remaining, and it's time to get things moving one more time. Hopefully, this could be the last restart of the day. We're starting to see the race push a little bit further into late time territory. With 30 more laps to go, though, it could be a quickie. It could end up getting a little bit more treacherous. That's up to the drivers here, and most of the front runners have had no trouble controlling themselves. Brad Patton leading. We'll hope that he can keep himself in control as well. Brad Patton and Michael Laraya, your new top 2. So, to reiterate what's gone on with the strategy, 4 new drivers have decided to stay out on the track. Those will be Michael Laraya in 2nd, Nick Ward in 3rd, Justin Morton in 4th, and Kyle Cooper, who rounds out the top 5. Very small group. It's a little bit bigger now with some drivers from the previous caution. It was only about a 10-lap run, so going to get a little bit longer. We did see one quick stint. Now we're hoping maybe not to see another and get this one to the end of the way. Yellow flag flying 172 laps in, and if it didn't confirm it already, I think we've seen it now. The track is all but pitch black. The Charlotte Motor Speedway, just about the dimmest it will be, and the field knows now that the sun is completely down. If it wasn't, of course, confirmed already, we saw earlier in the race, it was almost entirely gone. No trace of the sun any longer. It is nighttime skies here in Charlotte, and we should be able to take it to the end of this race with those nighttime skies. Brad Patton set to be the man who gets it done, as we now have 1 lap to green. We come through next time by. So we'll go green with 27 laps remaining. Brad Patton's going to be the man in control. Patton down low, Michael Laraya right up high. Pace car lights are off. Now we got ourselves 1 more pace lap, 27 remaining, and we've whittled this field down to those who have been able to survive all throughout the race. I think now we've got ourselves about the best group of the night, and we gotta wonder, will we see any mistakes be forced? Forcing a driver into a mistake is, of course, a common tactic in these endurance events. After a certain point, it just becomes that much harder to concentrate on what you absolutely need for this event's success, and that's going to be tricky for a driver like Cody Smith, like Jacob Fife, like Galen Gibman, or Tom Wetmore, those who have to come a little bit further throughout the field here. It's even going to be tricky for your leaders who currently have position, because if you have position and you're in the top 5, you've been on the track longer, you have older tires. It does not mean you have the true advantage, at least for now. Patton might be able to play the longer game and get a little bit more out of it, but I doubt it's going to go his way any longer, especially since he made the bold decision to not go down a pit road. We'll see whether or not that was the right call, as it's going to be America's home for racing, pulling through for 7 more laps. Here we go again. Pace car lights are going to be off. It's going to be Brad Patton, Michael Araya, Justin Morton, Nick Ward, among quite a few others set to go at it once again. Green flag is going to fly for Brad Patton, getting things going once more for restart number 6. Green flag's out, and Brad Patton will lead for the second restart in a row. And the caution's out again. So, yellow flag's going to be out. The cause of that one going to be the back of the field, and Cody Smith destroyed. Galen Gibman, among many others here, caught up. And now we've got ourselves an instant replay. Take a look back, and you'll figure out what caused it. Cody Smith going to be right here, and it looks like Smith sees Kyle Cooper. Cooper backs up into Smith. Smith into Gidman. Then Smith gets Nieto. Nieto is going to end up getting Ross Cato, and this is going to take out 5 good cars. Gidman's destroyed. Oh, that is horrible. Caution out again. 26 laps remaining. .26 laps to go. Brad Patton is going to be the leader, and another restart here. This will be your 7th caution of the race, and it looks like more and more this late portion of the event has really caught itself up in the action further on back, but this time it catches multiple leading contenders. Gibman and Nieto in particular. I think Nieto's night is all but done. Galen Gibman, we'll see what he has left in as he comes down pit road. It's going to be tricky, but I think at this rate, we've got ourselves a bad circumstance for a few leaders that really, it's a hole you can't dig out of so late in the event. 25 laps to go, coming down to what will be 24 remaining. Brad Patton is in first, Michael Araya second, Nicholas Ward in third, and Ethan Lane is in fourth. Justin Morton going to be top 5, and Jacob Fife 6th, Tom Wetmore 7th, and Kyle Cooper 8th. Brad Patton finds himself now leading the way. Michael Araya second indeed, and Aria's found himself in second quite a few times. I'll tell you that much. He's been just about the second place driver overall. Right now, that number 44, the Sim Speed Shop, done its job and then some. Chevy Impala, number 44, running against the Monte Carlo up in front. 2x2 will go again, and we should be going back green with 22 laps to go. So, with Brad Patton holding the advantage again, another ripple of drivers coming into pit road. Bobby Ross, one of them. Cody Smith is down there by force and damage. Galen Gibman and Sam Nieto are in trouble still. And it looks like Eli Cars officially disconnects from the session. So, we're going to have now coming down to 16 drivers on the lead lap as Gidman just barely makes it back. Not really going to be in racing shape to keep up with the leaders here, but we'll be able to roll around the circuit and should be able to do so without all too much trouble. 24 laps remaining. We will be going back green with 22 to go. As the caution laps begin to stack up, fuel becomes even less of a concern. There's really little concern overall for the strategy of everyone. I think only Brad Patton, perhaps, would be worried about any circumstance in regards to strategy. I mean, a 27-lap stint with 24 to go isn't unsafe, but it's not going to be sustainable if we get those long runs. I mean, getting it back and forth again consistently for these drivers like Patton, Lariah, Ward, those who are on older rubber, absolutely what they want. Of course, the field trying to hold on and make things happen with the older tires, but the new tire brigade is coming up. Jacob Fife going to be in 6th, Wetmore 7th, Braxton Deweese 9th, rounding out the top 10 is Brian McFerrin, all drivers on new rubber. Maybe an opportunity for them to keep things moving at the head of the field, getting up there. All the while, Brad Patton and those on older rubber would fade back. But that requires more than 2 laps of green flag racing, which it seems like we have not been able to see since lap 150. So now it's time to get back into the swing of things. Half a lap until we get things going again. Brad Patton, Michael Lariah, and they've been the story of this new run of the race, which has been mired, unfortunately, by quite a few cautions. Kyle Cooper finds himself now in 8th, and Jacob Fife 7th. You see Tom Wetmore 6th, and Justin Morton going to be 5th. So now an order of drivers we're familiar with, but it shuffles just a little bit each and every time around. Brad Patton going to be your race leader here, and he is set to go at it one more time. We say it every single time. This could be it, and you never really know when it is. Cautions have bred cautions repeatedly. And now, the number 7 is set to roll out once more. Pace car lights are off, and we're going to get things going all over again. It's going to be the number 7 of Brad Patton, Michael Lariah there on the high side, and Nick Ward down low for 3rd. Green flag is due to fly. Let's do this all over again with 22 laps to go. As always, cranking it up with our camera partners at trackcams22.com. Make sure to check them out after tonight's broadcast, as we are going to bring you the best angles with the best cameras on iRacing. Green flags out, 22 laps remain. 15 laps remaining. We find ourselves now at the home stretch, and drivers have been pushing as hard as possible, but nobody's gotten by Ethan Lane. Lane leads right now. Brad Patton dropping back, and the old tires, well, they're fading for a guy like Brad Patton. Welcome back to final coverage of the World 300 here in FTN. The Octane Series has gone through over 250 miles of racing, and so far, we find ourselves back in a rhythm. A few cautions in a row, but it looks like now with a few more drivers disconnecting from the session, well, we find ourselves in this position where Patton and company, they are going to be way back. Brian McFerrin, Justin Morton, now way off of your leader. Ethan Lane has made himself home up in front. He's got the race lead, and he does not intend to lose it. Take a look at Tom Wetmore here. Wetmore may be looking for second, and Tom finished second to the driver of the 44 last week. I don't think he'd like to finish behind him once again. Here comes Tom, just about a tenth of a second away, and he'll drive high, taking it up there to the top side. And now, maybe a chance to shoot it down the back straight. Side by side, coming into 3. What can Wetmore do with it? Well, looks like right now he'll hold on, and that's not a bad start. It looks like now Tom Wetmore's been able to hang in there on the middle groove, and if he gets one good run off of the back straightaway, yeah, he's going to be in great standing. Michael Araya ends up dropping back about a half car length here, and if Tom Wetmore can just keep drilling in what he's done so far, he should be in good standing to take that pass away and maybe make it Braxton Weiss in the mix too. Braxton, who has the best chance of anyone to go for that double here in Charlotte, maybe an opportunity to slide inside the podium and then some. Braxton now going to find himself just about a car length away from sneaking inside the podium and 2 car lengths back from going up to second, which will be a big deal right here for the 13 crew if it can be done. Doesn't look to be impossible just yet, but Tom Wetmore fending off both drivers behind him, and he is doing so with finesse. The driver, the number 51, is tuned up, and he knows now that if there's any way to keep it inside the podium, you've got to defend upon both the drivers who are working at you. Meanwhile, Jacob Fife has the best seat in the house, and now he's watching aboard, and we're watching with them. You'll see here 2 wide racing. It's going to be Braxton DeWeese and Michael Araya. Michael going to opt to go down to the bottom side. Braxton up top. They both had to play the long game. Araya used to being in second. Braxton DeWeese, maybe not so much, but he's making it up here now, and the long game has played out well for Braxton to get to this point. 9 laps to go, and the number 13 machine is there, but it looks like Michael Araya is too. Michael now going to try to cut right under Tom Wetmore again, and Braxton knows how that story plays out. Sometimes cutting under is not a good thing, because if you have too little room, you might end up destroying yourself in the process. Now Braxton gonna find himself behind, waiting in the wings even further. A little bit loose, but he keeps it straight, and it looks like now Jacob Fife with an opportunity to slide down under as well and make it 2 rows of 2 wide action. Tom Wetmore gonna be up top here. And the sim speed shot number 44. Well, nothing much can be said or done here, as Wetmore is going to be now gridlocked. It's the 51 machine ahead of DeWeese and the 44 right behind. Of course, Wetmore now going to have to evaluate his situation. Does he try to fight with Michael Araya about it? Maybe, maybe not. Does he have a chance to hold on to Braxton DeWeese here? I would say it's a certainty that he can keep on defending if he chooses his lines right. Now the 51 machine going to go way high. Well, it looks like now Braxton DeWeese has decided to duck and cover, making his move down to the low side, and he now got an opportunity through 3 and 4 to make things happen all over again. 7 laps to go, and Ethan Lane needs a race like this desperately. Everyone else fighting behind him, and they are nowhere in sight. And you see now, Braxton DeWeese trying to find that room to undercut Wetmore. I think he just got it there. Braxton DeWeese cutting deep, a little bit of a wash up there, and he's side by side with Tom Wetmore. 6 laps to go, and you can see how tricky he's getting here for Tom in the Tube Tech Chevrolet. And Right now, Braxton Deweese rolling down and under with very little concern about what's going on for Wetmore. I think right now he's more so confident he can make it out. The 13 machine with a little bit of a lunge through the corner, getting through the inside, and he got himself exactly where he needs to be to set up once again. Can't get the pass done, but there's still time, so he could not be there in full panic mode, shall we say. Meanwhile, Jacob Fife is still the onlooker, and Tom Wetmore, he's been defending quite well to keep it in third. It looks like maybe Wetmore going to have to settle behind Michael Araya for the second consecutive week. Admittedly, for Tom here, I don't think there's all too much left for him to chase down Lariah, especially not Ethan Lane, but he's done a real good job so far of keeping Braxton Deweese at bay. Take a look down in the rear view. You can see here, 13 down and under. Jacob Fife is going to be right there too, and if one goes, the next comes. It's going to be tricky here because Tom Wetmore absolutely very little time left, 3 laps to go. Can he keep on defending? That's the big question. The bottom spot in the podium, it is near. Both drivers behind, and Tom Wetmore's the man who has it. It's going to be up for grabs with 3 miles remaining. 198 laps in, and it's going to be 199, this time by 54 of Ethan Lane popsicle sticks. 2 laps to go. Lane is out in his own world, and he has been there since the jump. He started up at the front of the field, getting the pole position, had a scuffle with Michael Lariah early, and now he finds himself the undisputed race leader, and it's a race win this team needs more than anything else. Fell back a position in the championship standings, and ended up dropping a little bit further back than they'd like. 5 wins already. This would be win number 6 on the season, breaking the single season win record in the Octane Series previously held by Tom Wetmore. 1 lap to go, this time by the final lap for Ethan Lane, and the 54 now due to come home after a night of domination. Lane has experienced every struggle, the trials and tribulations, pit road drama, the excitement of the yellow flags, and in the most enduring race of all, Ethan Lane conquers the field. Checkered flag is out. Ethan Lane will win from Charlotte, and at the line, Wetmore holds on for third. Caution, not gonna fly. We went there till the end on a 20-lap run, and Ethan Lane gets it done. Win number 6, and he holds the all-time single-season win record in the Integrity Octane Series history, breaking the 2023 high, and to new heights. Ethan Lane has gone, his 6th victory, and now it's going to be a fight from here on out between he and Lariah. That is the race he needed. All the momentum in the world goes to the number 54. And Lane continuing to celebrate just like that, parking on the start-finish line. Ethan Lane collecting the victory and winning here in Charlotte by 3 seconds over points leader Michael Araya, and Tom Wetmore once again a podium, and once again tonight, 1 position behind that number 44. How close it is. Then going to be 4th for Braxton Deweese. Of course, a very good run for him, although he didn't make the podium. It was a very good opportunity to go for 2 consecutive top 3s in consecutive series. 5th place going to go to Jacob Fife, and 6th to Brad Patton, who held on despite 50-lap-old tires. Very impressive there for Brad. Bobby Ross in 7th, Brian McFerrin 8th, Ross Cato 9th, and Justin Morton 2 consecutive top 10s. He holds 4th and finishes in 10th. 11th place then and there is going to be to the driver of the number 11 in Nick Ward. Eric McFarland is going to find himself well, despite being 3 laps down for the first half of the race, and Kyle Cooper is 13th. John Giron 14th, Cody Smith 15th, and Randy Fiash in 16th, with Galen Gibbon in the 17th position, and 18th Sam Nieto, 19th for Eli Cars, and Sean Kalis 20th. Finally, Blake Cannon 21st, Alan Rawell 22nd, and Matt Jonas 3rd and last. Win number 6 for Ethan Lane. It's the single season high in Integrity Octane Series history, and we're better than to get it than one of the hardest races on the schedule, point blank. Ethan Lane, 300 miles at Charlotte is always daunting, no matter what the car is. This year, we turned it up. It's the Gen 4 stock cars for 300 miles, and even though a lot of drivers in the field had trouble, it seemed like from the jump, getting the pole position on just one lap of qualifying, you turned it up, and you kept yourself fighting for the lead until it was no longer a fight. It was only yours. Checkered flag is out for your 6th victory of the season, the new single season record, by the way. And now, you find yourself back in the points fight for certain with a huge boost of momentum before a Memorial Day break, Ethan. How you feeling?
Feeling great. I kind of knew what this car was going to do tonight. So that helped a lot. And then qualifying, I was not expecting to be that quick over qualifying. But yeah, that kind of set the tone for the race. First half, we kind of were just riding, waiting for long runs. Never really got it because every time I got to the lead and close to pit cycles, caution came out. But overall, it was fun. We actually made the right strategy call this week, so that's a plus.
And the strategy calls made just right. In all honesty, the field controlled a lot by the yellow flags, but that final stint of yellows, that's where the right call was made. We see you came down twice over. Well, a few other drivers decided to hope for a buffer, and that's where the difference was. A lot of this race, of course, preparing for the final stint, and it looks like you prepared quite well. What led you to the decision there, which ended up making all the difference?
Well, learning from Dover. Honestly, the last, I think, like 20, 25 laps went green in that one, and it did the same thing here. So we just made that strategy call. Whether it worked out or not, that would have been the strategy call to possibly win the race. So we had to make it. Definitely wasn't an easy one to make, but yeah, it worked out.
And working out just right at the tail end of this one. And one thing we mentioned, of course, is the point standings and a situation where we're about halfway into the championship race overall. 13 races deep to this season and 6 wins. You haven't made every race, but ever since kicking your campaign off, you've been able to make up points about every week. The past 2 races, maybe not the best for this team, but big time momentum, and this is going to swing forward to what's next for the schedule. And after Charlotte, we got that 1 week break. Then we go to North Wilkesboro. So short track racing, which always tends to get dicey no matter what. And with this momentum here, what's it going to take maybe to pull through for another solid result?
Just keeping doing what we're doing. We've been king of short tracks this season so far. So hopefully that can keep us up there. Dover and Kansas kind of messed us up. Dover, I think, on that final restart, I accidentally hit the power button on the PC, so that cost us some points. And then Kansas, I accidentally took an extra set of tires when I wasn't supposed to, so we lost points there, and it just got to the point to where I just had to give up.
Fortunately, not the best stretch coming into the night, but now with an opportunity to redeem yourself and then some. 6th win, which is, of course, as mentioned, the new high in the Octane Series for just one season. And a race like this, dominance, especially till that very end. Ethan Lane, if you have any final shout-outs to make after tonight's event, well, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, this car's always fun a mile and a half. We haven't had the best going this season except for Vegas, but we made up for it tonight. Thank you, David, for always putting on this broadcast. Jacob and everyone back in Integrity for putting the league on. It's always fun coming to these Tuesday nights to where you can actually just race and not have to worry about anything. Everyone's really chill in the aspect of racing you hard but racing you clean. So I appreciate everyone there, and hopefully we can carry this momentum towards North Wilkesboro.
Hoping to keep things moving as we head back into the Carolinas in 2 weeks' time. Ethan Lane, winner here in the World 300. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.
And with Lane on the way, the only driver who could have kept Ethan Lane honest all night long was the 44 of Michael Laraya. It looked like where Ethan Lane was, you were due to follow just about a second and a half later all night long. And Michael, after, of course, the victory we saw last week, you're on a pretty good run. 2 consecutive podiums, and definitely not a bad night at all, given everything. How was it out there at Charlotte in our longest mileage race of the season?
It was definitely a fun race. It was kind of just all about strategy tonight. First half of the race was a lot more predictable. We were getting a little bit longer runs there, um, and it was just uh, everybody was doing a fairly good job, I would say, within the top five. Kind of realizing, hey, you can't push it real hard. The whole run. You really got to take it easy on the tires and try to save your stuff. Really, the initial 10 laps or so to begin a run, and so it was kind of like a cat and mouse game. One of us would get the lead, then we're kind of backing up, trying to manage our stuff, and somebody would get impatient, go to the front, vice versa. Just kind of seeing what we could get away with. And Ethan and I, we both kind of checked out there for a bit, um, and there was times where I knew he was definitely better than me, and then like times where I felt like I was a little bit better than him. Especially very end of the runs, I felt like I was coming on strong again, but he would get out to enough of a lead where it really wouldn't make a difference. Um, I kind of wanted to see though what would happen if we had some green flag pit stops. I feel like things would have got a little bit interesting there just to see how things would cycle out, who would get in pit lane better, coming out of pit lane better. A lot of variables there that maybe could have shaken things up. But second half of the race though, when we had more cautions, it really changed the complexion of the race with strategy. And I'll be honest, I thought I was in big trouble there the last 25 laps or so. I had no more sets of tires. Everybody else behind me had a tire advantage, and so I'm like, yeah, this isn't good. I really got to get a good restart. And probably saw theirs battling Tom and Braxton pretty hard there. Not only are we going for a race win tonight, but in my case, I'm battling Jacob Five for a charter for next season. So really felt like I cost myself a chance to win the charter tonight just because of running out of sets of tires. Everybody else was better, just being more conservative, making sure they had that last set, including Jacob. But somehow just able to hang on there just for sheer pace, and I got lucky, honestly.
Well, looks like with all the yellow flags and such, getting through at the very end, even despite a little bit of that trouble with the strategy. You mentioned it, 40-lap stint for you at the end, which was one of the highest counts of anyone in the top 10 next to Brad Patton. Green flag pit stops, it's not something we unfortunately saw very little of it tonight, which was something I don't think I quite expected going in. The race largely dictated by the cautions in terms of strategy. What was it like adapting to that, knowing it seems like you and Ethan Lane had the best runs in and out of pit road all night long?
Yeah, it's in my shoes. It's certainly frustrating because my strong suit is long runs and green flag pit stops and that side of strategy. So when you're getting those rash of cautions, it definitely changes the complexion of the race, and you really got to change your mindset. You obviously want to still try to manage your tires, but you have to go much harder, or else you're going to get run over. So it was getting interesting towards the end there. I think what really saved me, even though I was at a tire disadvantage, was just 2 quick cautions, being able to cool my tires down enough to have something left, and then just being able to start on the front row too. I'm not mired back in traffic and dirty air. That was certainly key. So I, could stay near the front, run a pretty fast pace, and then Jacob, he had to do some work to at least try to get near me. Um, but when I was battling Tom and Braxton there, I'm like, man, do I just let him go by? Because I know we're killing ourselves with lap time here. But I'm like, if I do that, Jacob's going to be right behind me. He's going to have cleaner air. He's going to get to my bumper. So I'm like, my best bet is to try to still have a buffer behind me. And luckily, again, my pace was good enough to hang on, have that buffer, and come out with the podium.
Just barely, of course, coming through, making it by Tom Wetmore in the final stages. Another podium, 2 consecutive as we head into an extra week's break. North Wilkesboro's up next, and Well, we've seen the versatility of this 44 team all throughout the season so far, and leading the points is any indicator. There's no reason to believe you can't succeed at Wilkes County, but any specific thoughts about the circuit before we head there?
It's certainly going to be an interesting race. I feel like we're going to have at least a little bit more opportunity to make passes, just because of this car, versus, let's say, the next gen car. This is much better suited for short track racing. Amount of horsepower we have, the wheel spin, I think is going to be an issue, or at least I hope it is. Um, this car, though, it handles bumps a little bit better. You got more spring to lean on, so uh, versus the next gen, maybe some bumps that would really get out of shape. This thing will handle them a lot better, so it'll even out in certain aspects. But I think we're gonna put on a good show. I think we're gonna really run some blistering laps to start the race, or start a run on new tires, and then we'll have some pretty decent fall off. But um, it's really gonna be all about being disciplined, making sure you're able to wrap the bottom in both ends of the track. Um, who knows? Maybe we can move up the track a little bit in both ends, but I feel like the bottom is going to be key. And really just getting in a rhythm, kind of like a Martinsville. That's going to be really important. But certainly starting near the front, we definitely have the potential to have some long green flag runs there. Yeah, just staying near the front and just trying to be able to manage lap traffic too is going to be very important. So looking forward to the challenge. I haven't run a race there in a very long time, so gonna have to put in a little bit of practice. But the season's been going really good for me so far, so I feel like, hey, no reason to count myself out for next week.
We're hoping to see perhaps a little more of that green flag racing. The potential is there. Michael Araya, track position and strategy, hold out for a second place finish. If you have final shout outs to make, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Sim Speed Shop. Got to give a shout out to Sam Nieto, and got to give a shout out to yourself, David, of course, for putting on the broadcast each week. Admins of Integrity Racing League. Got to give it a shout out too to just the whole team, especially putting together this bracket challenge. That was such a good idea, and it really kind of spiced things up here, getting towards the end. Jacob definitely put up a fight. I know he had some adversity to go through in the beginning of the race here, but he certainly made it interesting. At least for me, I really had to run hard to hold him off. So glad I was able to come out with that challenge and get it done. But overall, it's been a really fun season so far. I'm looking forward to continuing.
We're looking forward to what is next here, almost at the halfway point. Michael Araya leading the points after a second place run here in Charlotte. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
And with Araya on the move, well, we talked to these two in order last week, but it's a little bit different this time around. Tom Wetmore, you're behind Michael Araya once again, but this time not for the lead. Your priority was holding on and fending off two drivers to hold through for third. It was a hell of a battle to keep inside the podium tonight, and it looked like overall you just barely made it all happen. The 51 team on the podium once again. You started third, you finished third, and I don't think the numbers really tell the whole story. An exciting race for this crew to come back and get the top three. How's it feel?
It feels like we left something on the table tonight, David. I mean, the Tube Tech Camaro was fast tonight. But we decided to treat it like a late model race. Try to manage the tires early to be there late, and so we would let cars by and know the race would come back to us. First stint, second stint, and third stint, the same thing happened. We'd restart 5th, 6th, something like that, and fall back to 12th or 13th, and let the tires come in, let other guys fade, and we'd drive back up through the pack. And this crew chief's telling me on the radio, hey, you're the fastest car on the track, and then caution comes out before we get a chance to drive up any further than that. So rather than taking our third place position and improving on it, we found ourselves that last restart sitting there about 10th, and knew we had to drive our butts off and waste some Goodyear tires to try to make it happen. And well, we ran out of tires by the time we got to Michael there, so we ended up where we did.
Early in the race, you were one of the drivers which were going for the clutch and coast, which is about the first 50 laps of the race, and strategy was shuffled all throughout the night, and we course, discussed upon the fact you were a little bit further back than you'd like to be on that final restart and had to really burn through to make it up to this point here. 29 lap stint at the very end. We didn't see a green flag run longer than about 50 tonight, so it all came in blips, shall we say. Nothing really too extreme. It all came down to just partitioning your race in the right way, which has its own challenges when everyone else is doing things just a little bit differently, and that's something to touch upon. Racing against the rest of the field when everyone else's strategy usually varies by at least a lap or two. What was it like dealing with that today? Maybe the effect different because of the cautions coming so consistently, but it still played a big role, especially in regards to burning tires versus saving them.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to hear what Ethan or Michael said in their interviews, but we had a strategy early tonight, and we were gonna do this entire race in 3 stops. So we found out a strategy early, clutching in that we could make it 50 laps just about on the nose. So we were willing to give up that track position, willing to save those tires, knowing that, hey, it would even out and come back to us, and we were going to be able to do it in a stop less than everybody else if this thing ran green. And, well, after that first caution on lap, 37 or 40, something like that, obviously, that strategy changed, and it just became tire management after that pretty much until we came down to 150, and the same thing happened again. It's like, man, if we can go green from here, we're going to make it, and nobody else can. And, hey, cautions breed cautions, don't they?
Well, I would say we'd have to agree based on how, especially those final 50 laps of the race. Maybe that'll carry through for North Wilkesboro. Maybe not. We'll do the reverse jinx and say yes, it will. But Wilkes County up next after a week's break and getting some momentum in its 51 crew as of recent to jump inside the single digits of the point standings. You think there's an opportunity to go for a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. This time last year, we got bested by Seth Noel here by 1 position at Wilkesboro, and finished P2. So, hey, if we can improve just 1 position over what we did last year, we're going to park this thing in victory lane, and I get to talk to you first. So I wouldn't be mad about that one bit. But Wilkesboro is a super challenging track. The repave isn't here on iRacing just yet, so the track is rough, bumpy, and we got 900 horsepower thanks to the boys providing the power over there at No Mind and Garage Moon Power. So horsepower under the hood means you're going to cook a right rear tire if you don't know what you're doing. So Wilkesboro will certainly be tough.
Of course, the challenge at Wilkes County going to come back on the schedule. Maybe a chance to go for just 1 more position gain. We saw you second last week. We saw you third this week. Maybe a chance to go for 3 different podium spots in 3 races. Tom Wetmore, if you have any final shout-outs to make, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, man, certainly appreciate it. I got to thank my parents for tuning in here tonight. I know they were watching the race as well as, like I said, some of the boys from No Mind, Garage Moon Power, Robin Steele, attorneys at law, and of course the boys from Tube Tech. So those guys are tuning in. I know it's a little bit grueling. Last year we put up, gosh, what was it, Dave? 6, 7, 8 wins last year, and this season we're in a drought so far, trying to learn this Gen 4 car, learn this new car, this new package. It's funny, every lobby I load into, it seems like, or at least half of them, it's like, oh, hey, you've never ran this car in this track combo before. Great, let's learn a thing or two in 30 minutes before practice ends. So certainly don't have the experience some of these guys do at this combo, but we're learning fast and trying to get better.
And it looks like learning working out quite well in the past few races. Tom Wetmore, 2 consecutive podiums and a 3rd place here in the World 300. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, David. Have a great night, everybody.
Tom Wetmore on the move. Well, the 51, the final driver on our podium, Michael Araya, 2nd, and Ethan Lane once again coming through and collecting the checkered flag in the 54. Can you believe it's his 6th win of the season? And in 13 races, Michael Araya and Ethan Lane have won 10. It has been a season of dominance for those 2 drivers, and in all honesty, despite how good they've been, it almost doesn't feel like they've won as much as they have. It just goes to show how competitive this field has been despite the dominance from the best of the best. Nevertheless, we thank you all for watching tonight's coverage of the Integrity Octane Series, the 13th race on the 2024 schedule. Charlotte Motor Speedway playing host to the World 300. If you enjoyed tonight's coverage, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. We just surpassed 1,600 subscribers. Thank you, dealer, for that one. Now, of course, we're signing off, and I'll be your host for all of the future races coming up on the channel. We're taking a little bit of a break here on FTN. We'll be back next Tuesday but not with the Integrity Octane Series. They're taking a break. The Moving Chicanes Racing League is coming to FTN for a one-time special Indianapolis 500 replica. Keep your eyes peeled for that. More information will be on the way. I've been David Croix, your host and commentator and producer of tonight's event. Thank you all for watching tonight's exclusive coverage of the World 300. Hope you have a fantastic night.